Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Angela Mitchell and I'm a spiritual medium and a psychic artist. I'm based in the UK and this today is Soul Conversations where we will discuss a variety of spiritual and paranormal topics every month. And if you are watching on replay, please comment and tell me that you're watching and post any questions or comments or feedback that you have about today's show. And if you're watching live, please comment as well to let me know where you're watching from and if you have any questions for today's show. We are going to be talking about paranormal investigations. And what is it? What is paranormal? What is the paranormal? What can you experience at a paranormal investigation? What do you what will you see? What's it like? So we're going to talk about it. We're going to ask some questions and discuss and share some information about paranormal investigations. Now, just before that, before we bring on our speaker, hit the subscribe button and also that bell notification so that you get informed when I'm on live, and if I upload any videos that might be relevant to your interest. So I'm going to bring in let me introduce you first to Mark Hughes. He's a paranormal expert with lots and lots of experience in the paranormal, and he runs a company called Fright Nights, based in the UK. And I've had the pleasure of working with Mark and his wife over the years, going up and down all over the UK, and investigating and being the medium at their events. So let's bring him on and let's get to know Mark. Hi, Mark. How are you doing?
Hello, Angela. I'm doing very well, thank you. I hope you are too.
Yes,
hello,
thank
world.
My neighbors
sorry.
basically, just before we start, my neighbors decided to cut down a huge tree across the road. So if you hear this horrible whining sound in the background, it's that tree change source going on at the right time. Okay, so or at the same time. So I excuse the sound. Hopefully our conversation will be so interesting you won't even hear it. Over to you, Mark.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Hughes. Yes, I am one of the owners of Fright Nights, along with my dear wife, Lynda. I'll have met some of you over the years. I've been dealing with the paranormal for probably about 30 years on and off, as a hobby and an interest. But I've been running Fright Nights for about 5 years approximately. When me and my wife first took it on, it was going quite well. It had about sort of 10, 12 different areas up and down the country. We've now got 24. So the company is growing nicely, and we've got lots of very enthusiastic and very professional people that work with us and for us, including mediums like your good self, Angela. So yes, now one thing that's unique about Fright Nights is that it was actually around last century. It started up in 1999. It was first put together to give the general public the opportunity to investigate some of the most haunted locations up and down the country. And I couldn't even count how many people we've taken on our events. We're talking thousands and thousands. And yeah, since then we've been getting stronger, and we've had a lot more venues also come our way as well. So yes, that's a little bit about Fright Nights. Yes.
Fantastic. And as you said, the sort of hold on, I'm just fiddling. Just realized that I haven't put my extra Wi-Fi booster just in case it decides to go weird on me. So yeah, so we do have quite a few people watching us live now. Just do let us know. Hi Claire, how are you doing? Right.
I can't see anybody on my screen, so I'll have to rely on you.
Oh yeah. I'm bossing it at the moment. So.
It's all right. That's right. Less
It's
pressure for me.
a lot more technology that I'm used to. This
Yeah.
is my first podcast talk show sort of session, so obviously a bit nervous and trying to get all the tech bits
Yeah.
in line, okay, not to
Mm.
distract from our conversation. Now, what I thought was really interesting to bring you on and to bring forward this conversation about paranormal investigations, because a lot of people, this is something that you probably come across a lot on Facebook and social media and the TV, Netflix and Amazon and so on. There's a lot of information about, paranormal investigations, but it's more on from media in terms of, shows and programs. But what is it like to actually go on a paranormal investigation with someone like you and myself, which you could do in where you live, wherever it seems
Mm.
that there are investigation groups all over the world in almost
Oh,
every
yeah.
every
Yeah.
country and county.
Everywhere.
So I
Yeah.
thought that would be, because it's more of a personal, it's really a personal experience where when you go on this sort of events, it's so what are the expectations. Now, first of all, paranormal, is defined. I did have the definition somewhere, but it's something that is not normal, that cannot be explained with science. So something that's paranormal, normal, so out of the normal, and I suppose with spirits and entities and all these experiences of energy that you might feel, all of those things, you can't really explain it. And even as a medium, I know there's been lots of signs about mediumship and spirits and what a medium goes through in that kind of
Mm.
state. But still, there's so much that needs to be done in order to really have scientific proof to make it not paranormal, right?
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of that definition for you. For us, just to little bit more about how I work with Mark and his wife. We met maybe about 4 or 5 years ago
Yeah.
or
Something
something
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
I've never done paranormal investigations or done any other kind of readings other than face-to-face readings. So when they said to me that, okay, we want you to come and to be able to speak to the spirits at a venue, and I was going like, okay, I'll do a test, let's see where it goes. And also I said that I wouldn't do anything that's outside of my moral or ethics code. I'm gonna do the readings the way, the connection communications the way I would do a normal reading. I'm not going to pretend there was something that's not there.
That's right. Mm. One of us is frozen up by the
Um,
looks of things. I don't know if it's me or, or you. I thought,
Considering the
hello,
fact
what
that
do I do?
everything else has gone wrong today, and you almost
Okay.
didn't come on here. I think it was just that
Okay.
Wi-Fi. They're probably chainsawing through my Wi-Fi.
Oh,
Okay.
that's all you need, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So we met quite a few years ago, and we did sort of like a trial, didn't we? And it was phenomenal. I mean, I was astounded at the emotional side of it, and
Mm.
the interaction was fantastic. So much so that I haven't left all
Mm.
this year.
Yes.
Obviously, COVID had put
Oh,
stopped
yeah.
a lot
It's
of things
stopped
for us.
everyone at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Let's go, for the people that are watching, shall we just try to describe what a paranormal investigation evening involves?
Okay. Um, well, I mean, one thing we always try and do is whatever happens during the night, we always try and create a positive atmosphere. So hopefully, the moment you come in, you'll be given the opportunity to have a cup of tea, biscuit, and try and get to mingle a little bit with the other guests. That sort of thing. And what we do is we make everybody comfortable, because you do get people that come in very nervous. You get a lot of first timers who think, "Oh my God, am I going to be taking home demons and goodness knows what else?" And once we've gone through the basic introduction, we'll then go for a bit of a walk round, the actual venue, normally with our medium, like yourself, Angela. And you'll tell us of any spirits that you're sensing or you're feeling the presence of as we go around. And I have actually found that once while we're doing that bit, and also afterwards, is a lot of people tend to go, it's okay. We're not going to get things thrown at us every 2 minutes and things like that. I like that medium bit simply because it does calm a lot of people down. They realise that it's not all danger and goodness knows what else. Once we've done that, we then tend to split it up into 3 groups, depending on how many people we've got. We have a medium side, which would be with your good self. And then we have like a session with all the equipment, which I'll go through some of it later on. And we also have what I call a divination session, if you like. We'll do glass divination, table tipping, and have a go at some pendulums and some dowsing rods as well. So we tend to split it up into 3 groups like that. Then everybody gets a turn. And then after that, we let, depending on the venue, of course, 9 times out of 10, we let people go off into the venue and do their own thing for about 40 minutes, half hour, again, depending on the length of time of the whole evening. And what I like is because it starts with a room full of strangers, but by the time it's the people going off and doing their own thing, everybody's friends. They're swapping phone numbers, Facebook pages, and I really like that. I mean, I'm not a great social animal myself, but I like the idea I've created a community, if you like, out of complete strangers. I get a real kick out of that. And I mean, we never guarantee, or you can never guarantee that something paranormal is going to happen. I always say to people, I can't offer the spirits a few quid just to knock on a wall for us. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen like that. If they don't want to, if they're having an off night like everybody else, like the living do sometimes, then it can be an evening where it goes really, really flat. But I always hope that people still walk away with a bit of extra knowledge, or they've at least enjoyed themselves. So that tends to be it. I tend to look at it as an educational thing as well. I mean, we do get a lot of veterans. They come with all their equipment and everything. And I'm always wary that there's always few people that have done it for years. So when we do split up into groups, we try and keep the veterans together, and and the novices or the nervous ones we put in a separate group. So that way we can cater across the board. So yeah, but hopefully by the end of the evening, everybody's enjoyed themselves.
Yeah. And one thing to note as well, that you don't have to be spiritual or to have any special gifts or abilities. You don't have to be a medium to attend. These events are public events, ticketed events that you're obviously running a company and you have to pay for the venue and the hire and all of that, and travel. Sometimes we travel 5 hours up and down the country and so on. And you can attend, and then I'm on hand to always help with the anything to do with the sort of spirit side or spiritual side. I end up getting asked a lot of questions during sessions, and often it's an understanding about how I connect with spirits and how do I see them. But often it also brings about an opportunity for people to ask those questions. It's like, oh, Angela, I've always felt like I always know things before it happens. So they sometimes ask. There's an opportunity, and they might not have had the burning desire to go for a spiritual development or ask really ask and stuff. But then because I was there, and it had given them an opportunity to ask, and then maybe even develop their own, during that time they developed some sort of their senses and said like, wow, I didn't realize I could do that, and so but it also gives and the things that people come to me for very different reasons is fantastic. I remember there was one time at Street Hall where this gentleman, and he had this an old watch on a chain. He brought it thinking that it would get him close to his grandfather. Okay.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
at that point, he didn't tell me anything except he gave me and he says, can you read objects? And I said, you know what, I'll try. I do, but I'll try.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee
Psychometry. Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And I held it in my hands, and I felt. I remember saying something like, "I feel that the gentleman that owned this originally owned this. That it would have had. I can see straight lines and something I would see in a sort of engineering architecture for sort of board with the lines, etc. I know this about this person and etc. And then said something about him. And the then gentleman in front of me and said, "Well, you have so many different qualities that align with this gentleman, and I actually feel that he was somebody that you're related to, and there's a lot of love, etc., etc." Long reading. I couldn't remember. I couldn't believe how much came out from that little piece of that jewelry.
Brilliant.
And he looked at me and he backed away because he was going like, "You've just described my grandfather. He was an engineer."
Fantastic.
He was in the army. I felt he was in the army as well. And then I said, "This is what you do." And he says, "Oh my God, I'm an architect." All of those information from just piece of jewelry. And he was like, I think he said to me, he didn't really believe in all of this, but not just his experience, but having that experience with me made him a believer. Like he was like blown away by that. So it gets so many things can really happen during a paranormal investigations, and I don't mean that you turn up to one with lots of items, like a cart full of items from your
shopping trolley or something. Yeah.
From your attic, and Angela, can you feel this? But it's very unique. I think that's what I'm trying to say is that it's every event is unique because of the individuals, because of the spirits, the venue itself, and it's sort of kind of the experience. We always come back each time in a different sort of feeling, isn't it?
Yes.
So my session, the medium session, is where I would go into, usually involves sitting in a damn dark place, airless place, like the
Oxford Castle or something like that. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. When you switch off all the lights, I mean, that itself is like, my biggest fear is not spirits or not any, being attacked or anything. It's actually falling down and breaking my face when I'm trying to walk around in the dark.
And some of these places.
And standing there, and what I tend to do is I do have I should have brought this sort of equipment, but upstairs. But it's having a few trigger objects, which I think you have some of those objects that we'll show them later. But most importantly, it's my connection, opening my senses and saying, I always start with a little intention, not really a prayer, but an intention. Mother, Father, God, Spirit, family, and friends, please, I welcome you to come join us, to give us an opportunity to get to know your story, to understand how you lived, how you died, and how what you are doing now. And that brings that a lovely intention, sort of like welcoming spirit to join us. And then I would say, right, okay, I feel a gentleman here. I feel, I might get names, I might get time, dates as well. I remember Oxford Castle particularly, a lot of dates. And then I would get information. I see a lot, very clairvoyant when I'm on sort of paranormal investigations, where I'm seeing a lot of scenes, and I'm experiencing some of the things that they're going through as well. And then we would then sort of stop and say, right, okay, can you make that little ball that we've put on the floor light up? Can you make the light on this object move? Can you validate? Because as much as I love, doing connecting with spirits, it's all in here. So it's like a crazy woman that's staring in the dark or at a wall and saying, I've got a man, I've got a child, I got this, I got that. And people are just standing there going,
yeah. Yeah.
It basically that's what you're doing. So when an object, something that's visual, interacts then with me, I've said something, I said light something up and it happens, then it becomes whoa, it gets it's something they can participate and they can look. And what I give them an opportunity as well to do it themselves. All right, can you
Yes.
ask? I might feel that there's a lady, might see when you're talking to children, you find like a motherly figure or somebody that is a teacher, for example,
Yeah.
relatable to children. I said, right, okay, darling, can you speak to ask the little boy to light that up or make something move, etc.
Yeah.
And then it gives them an opportunity to interact as well.
Yep.
But some of the stories some of the things that's happened
Fantastic. Yeah.
is absolutely amazing. And I think I remember, I don't think you were in the session with me in Oxford Castle. Lynda might have been, where I had 3 children. And Oxford Castle was also a prison for many years, and they did executions and they jailed children. I think the ones that were known were about 7 or 8 years old, right? So for very little for trying to steal an apple or something like that.
Yes, that's
So
right. Yes, they were.
very
Yeah.
sad, desperate, vulnerable children.
Terrible
Some of them
times.
were even orphans. So when I was down in the crypt and I had these 3 children, and they made me smell the stink of that crypt because they used to store the bodies there as well at
That's
one
right.
point, didn't they? They showed themselves to me, and then I said, I said, okay, darling, and I know there's this little boy, and I said, okay, darling, there's a ball on the floor. Can you just go and give it a kick? Just go close to it and make it light up. And it happened 3 times on command.
Yes.
I said
I
said, light it up. I said, step back.
Yeah.
It stopped. Then I said, go back again, touch it, and lights up. I mean, in that darkness and that little ball just lighting up. Oh, I mean, they were just astounded. It was so emotional.
Fantastic. Like a 70s disco, I know.
It is.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Do you have any of the equipment that you a K2 meter, the cat balls with you?
Yes, I do.
So
Yes.
go into the equipment so people can see what we use in
certainly.
the area.
Okay.
I mean,
when
you talk about equipment, Mark, mind you, that people might have in their minds, they're probably thinking about the Ghostbusters, the backpack.
Oh no, we don't have the backpacks, the streams, and don't cross the streams. I'd love to go on a ghost hunt with something like so techie, but it's really not that practical. It really isn't. A couple of things you reminded me of when you were talking was what's really nice is Oxford Castle, certainly we get a guide that goes around, just gives us a very brief positive history. And what's been really good is when we've gone around with your good self and you've told us spirits that you're sensing, you're picking up, and after you've gone through your spiel, once the guide has picked up their jaw, they suddenly go, blimey, that's exactly right. Or yes, that's what's been seen. So that's really good as well, that you've had confirmation from the guide. Obviously, you don't know about for a coffee beforehand or anything like that. So and that is really good. And I think that's worthy of your own gifts, Angela. So blowing your own trumpet every now and then.
I think for as a medium, when you're doing a face-to-face reading with somebody, or even if I'm doing Facebook Live, whatever, I have a recipient. I have someone who has, sat in front of me or over Zoom or whatever, and they are listening attentively to understand the evidence. Like, so mediumship is mediumship is about evidential mediumship. So what I want to give is information so you can recognize that person. Now the chat, and then they go, oh my God, you've described my grandmother, But then when you go on a paranormal investigation as a medium there, it's slightly more challenging because I can tell you the most beautiful story about all the
yeah,
spirits and how they danced around, floated around, and they had, wispy long floaty gowns and all sorts of,
yeah,
image,
mm,
right? But
yeah.
nobody there would be able to validate that information.
That's right.
They'd be like, either you go, wow, that was amazing that Angela
Mm.
got all of this, or yeah, I don't know. Exactly, isn't it, right? But
Yeah,
when you
it's down
have
to the individual, isn't it?
yeah, and when you have a guide who
Yeah.
then I say my piece, and then she goes like, yeah, it was interesting that Angela mentioned that because that was blah blah blah. Or many a time where, because this is what happens, because Mark and Lynda live not far, I think about 8-10 minutes away from me.
Something like that.
And because I don't drive, they tend to pick me up, and I just know certain dates that I've blocked off the calendar, and I know I'm going up to Cambridge or Nottingham or Hull or whatever,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't tend to, mostly pure laziness, and also not having time. I don't tend to, try to do a history search and right. Okay, wow, okay, whoa. So there was this so and so died there, and there was a hanging, yada yada. So I don't do research on the places that I go. The
mm,
reason being, so that when I'm go in, I'm fresh. I don't have any information. So when I said something, and then Mark goes, "Oh, how interesting you said that." You've done
yeah.
that many times, Mark. You'd be like,
Yes.
you try to have a poker face, and then you go, "Oh,
Mm.
I'll
Seems to be
tell
my
you later.
disguise.
I'll tell you later." And then you say, like, when you said that, and this is what happened, and yada yada, and stuff. And I think as we go through the different places we've been through, that will be quite interesting. Now I'm
Yes.
just going to stop to just say hello to Suraf,
Mhm.
and also we've got the Spirit Box who
Oh,
say hi, Angela and Mark. It's Alice.
hello,
Been on a good few events with you guys now. I have a
Alice.
question for Mark. She has a question for you.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Far
are
away.
you still trying to develop your own mediumship abilities? If so, how is it going?
Oh, Alice. Did you say the name was Alice?
Yes, from the Spirit Box.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hello, Alice. Yes, I am trying to develop my own spiritual uh, senses, feelings, and Angela is actually my instructor. And uh, I don't. Well, I like to think it's going going very well, but Angela hasn't given me any feedback.
I
Um, um, it's going quite well, actually. I'm quite pleased with what I've done so far. It's taken me about 50 years to realise the sort of path I wanted to go on. And when I met Angela, what I like about Angela is she literally, and I don't mean this badly to any other mediums, right? She literally just, if you like, tears up some of the rule book. Because I remember I first bought a pack of tarot cards, and the box was a really nice big gift box type thing, and the cards were normal sort of size, and then there's this huge, great big book. It must be about 5,000 pages, and I thought I cannot read all this. So it's sort of put me off doing it, to be honest with you.
it's
And then,
I've got one
and then
here. So you got
yeah,
78 cards in
yeah,
there.
right,
And then you got this. Oops,
yeah.
sorry.
I mean,
Huge
I read
book.
the book on like the history of tarot. I found that interesting. I read that section of it, but the rest of it was all about layouts and what the cards meant. And I kept thinking to myself at the time, I thought, well, you could, if you go by all these rules, you could do it with a normal plain deck of cards, so long as you know the dates and the type of card and what it does. And I started to doubt the whole scenario. And then I went on a course with Andrew. And the first thing she said to me was, okay, you've got your cards, you get your cards, and you throw away the rule book. I thought, yes, that's what I wanted to hear. I mean, I'm not averse to reading. I read quite a lot of books. And Andrew taught me that it's all about what you feel and what your instincts tell you about the cards you go through. It's a little bit more involved from that. But that really helped me. That actually boosted my own confidence because I realised everything I've been thinking or feeling about the cards and things around me did actually mean something to me. So yeah, I like to think it's going quite well. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, I mean, when I first met Mark like ages ago, and
Mm.
it's your connection. You know, you were kind of getting but overwhelmed, and I also feel that there was a time where, when I guess at the beginning, there was always this leaning towards the, you can't help it because there's so much negativity about spirits
Mm.
and about the paranormal, that it was, you kind of lean towards the, oh, it's overwhelming, so it must be a negative entity
Mm.
sort of thing. But I
Yeah.
feel that you really overcome the fear, and I feel there's confidence building within you. Definitely a big shift in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so,
think so, yeah.
so to answer to your question, Alice, he's one of the good ones.
Phew. Coming up to my review soon, so
So Mick, hi Mick. Mick says the balls light up on command. It's incredible, especially when you know you've placed the object and know where there's no trickery
yeah,
involved.
yeah,
It really validates something is occurring. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to admit that on my first investigation with Mark and the crew, I was
yeah.
very skeptical. I know you probably think it's weird that a medium uses the word is skeptical, because I know what I can, what's in my head, etc. But how, and I was then not aware of how spirits could interact with an object. How does that, what do they do? You know,
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, what the heck? And then we had the K2 meter, which we're going to show you and talk to you about later. And then, and I was saying, like, I think I said the name Rosie, and boom,
Oh, that's right.
I
Yes.
saw
Yeah.
it with my own eyes as to how
Yeah.
it was
Mm.
interacting with me. And I was like, oh my God, I was so blown away.
Mm.
And later I'm going to tell you about something very personal that's been happening to me over the last year, which will be, is blown me even to a different level. But the fact was that everything's in my head, but then when you see something visual like that, and often, as
Mm.
you said, make that, the attendees themselves place the object. They might be
Yeah.
standing next to it. There's no one else. We don't have people jumping out from, dark
Mm.
corners and things. We just don't have the budget.
No, 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 no.
you know
Yeah.
and we I mean, having seen what's out there, the other sort of, things that goes on Facebook and TV shows, and I do feel that I work with a wonderful group of people who are as authentic as possible. There are
Mm.
times where I've walked into a place and into a room, whatever, and I said, like, yeah, let's just move on. There's
Yes.
nothing here.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, it happens.
Cannot make it up. I cannot
No,
make
no,
it up. All
no.
spirit, that's it.
That's
But
right.
it happens very rarely. But sometimes you might have a very quiet equipment, but then I have a lot spiritually, a lot of things mediumistically coming through. The equipment might be quiet, or I might not get so much, and then
Yeah.
the equipment
Yeah.
goes ballistic. So
Yes.
it's really, really, very, very up and down. Hi, VUARYN 76. Hi, hello, how are you?
Hello.
Please, if you're watching live, please hit subscribe, and also comment and tell me where you're watching from, because we'd really love to know where, who's watching and where you're
Yeah,
from. And if
absolutely.
you have any
Absolutely.
questions as well for Mark and myself. Now, let's get into the equipment.
Mm.
Let's show people what sort of, because we're talking about equipment. As I said, they probably have this
Yes.
impression
That's
of
what I'm going.
Ghostbusters.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Okay, well, I'll the first thing we were talking about was the flashing lights on the cat ball. This is a cat ball. If I put a bit nearer to the screen, there's a little red button on the top there. If I press that down, you can see it flashing. But what we do is we place it in the middle of a room, and we ask the spirits to set the ball off. And sometimes it can take a few minutes. Sometimes it can take 20 minutes,
We
half
can't
an
see
hour.
we can't see it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can just take a few minutes. Sometimes it can take up to half an hour, three-quarters of an hour, for the spirit to build up enough energy to actually set the ball off again. And what they do is they touch the ball and the flights go off. And what they learn is they learn how to use it to answer questions. So it's a question of flash a ball if your name begins with B, something like that. And hopefully you'll get a nice flash for me. Yeah, trust me to pick
And
up
this
the one
is
bit that works.
something that they can buy off Amazon, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
it's a cat toy.
you can get them quite reasonable. It depends how patient you want to be. You can pick up about 100 of them for I don't know, 20, 30 quid, but you've got to wait about 6 weeks for them to come from China. But if you're having to wait that long, it's because they don't last forever. You know, the average ball probably lasts about a month if you've done constant locations with it. The battery and it starts to die off and you end up using another one. And also, unfortunately, people accidentally, I'm sure, take them home sometimes from the event. So
Fall off and they get kicked and things like that as well,
yeah,
isn't it?
they do. People step on them, and so you do need quite a few of them. You've got to be also very careful because they're quite strong. You don't want to stand on it and roll across the floor, and quite injured, cause you have an injury. That's quite a useful little gadget. That is. This drives our dog mad. This does because can't work out where the lights are coming from, and it ends up batting it across the room. So, so that's one of the most. That's a good cheap one, if you like, but it really is effective. You don't need to spend thousands and thousands on ghost hunting equipment. Don't let them fool you. This is a good one.
Basic stuff, isn't it, that you can buy quite cheaply, and you just want to have fun and experiment, and you can have
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the best methods are homemade. I know a few people that make their own, but you can use something like a flat board, put some talcum powder on it with a teddy bear in the middle, and just leave it there, and come back in a couple of hours later to see if the teddy bear's moved or if there's any imprints in the talcum powder.
Or you can put a cross.
Yeah, put a cross. Yeah, we've had some fantastic results with that, actually. You put a cross on a piece of paper, you draw around it, you put it in a locked room, swallow the key, and then you come back a couple of hours later and open it up and see if you've had movement. And well, we've had some great stuff with that. We really have. So it can be simple little things. You know, sometimes you just don't need to spend a fortune. The other most popular one is the K2 meter. Now, these electricians use these, and what they do is they place them on the wall. If I turn that on there, you'll see it lights up, and a little green light there is on. That tells you it's on. And what they do is they put it on the wall to find any electrical cables before they start drilling into it. And now they say that spirits give off EMF, which is electrical magnetic frequency. So when they come near it, it will actually set all the lights off. If I use my phone, just to give you an example. You can see the lights coming on, but that's my phone setting it. And so what you do again is you leave this in the middle of the room. You could even hold it in your hand and just feel around. And if it suddenly goes off, there's a good chance you probably put it in the middle of spirit's stomach or something like that. And what they can do again is they can use it to reply to answer questions. So again, is your name Carol? And it may flash right the way across. And sometimes just say, can you just confirm you're here? And I know Angela uses one of these. She's blinged it all up. And what helps is
for me and gave that.
That's right. Yeah. I knew one of you did. It wasn't me. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. Angela used one of these because that way she was asking the spirits to come forward for her to just show all the guests that there was a spirit there, and it was going up on command. And also it gave confirmation to her, and it gave confirmation to the guests that they weren't going insane, or that she wasn't going insane talking to people that didn't exist. So it's there's a very useful little object. Now these used to retail about 70 odd quid, but now they've come right down in price now. I've seen a few of them as cheap as at £15, so they really have come down. Somebody somewhere has made too many of them and can't get rid of them. So if you wanted to, that's a really good piece of equipment though. So it's that one.
And again, it's another thing that you can have the I have the K2 meter at home, and I've got a
Mm,
couple of cat balls as well.
yeah,
And these are the sort of things that I have at home, which sometimes, if I'm connecting with a spirit, or my husband's family own a lot of cats, and they've had cats that have passed
right.
for years and years ago, or throughout
Mm,
his life. And occasionally I would sense a cat, and then if I'm too tired and lazy to reconnect, and because he's not spiritual, he's an engineer, he's very
that's all logical.
skeptical.
Mm,
Yeah. So then I would use the K2 meter, or he finds it interesting to see
mm,
um the cat spirit interact with the K2 meter.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
something
yeah,
that I remember the first time it happened. He was quite blown away by it. So it's like, wow! And then put the
yeah,
ball on the floor, and they
yeah.
liked it. So
Mm.
so that's
Mm.
quite interesting.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's fantastic. It's funny you're saying about engineers and scientists. They tend to be the most skeptical. I do know a couple of GPs that love the paranormal. I've got a scientist across the road who works as a chemist. She absolutely loves it, but she has been brought up with a very scientific way of thinking. But it is. It's just some things that science can't explain, which is what makes it so damned interesting. Anyway, next thing, I think the battery's flat on this, and I couldn't undo it earlier because I'm not very good. But anyway, what this is a temperature gauge. Um, there's a little trigger just there. When I press that, a red light shoots across the room, and there's a little screen that tells you what the temperature is. And what you're looking, if you're going across, and let's say, I don't know, let's say 46 degrees, you're going along and it's 46, 46, 46, and you press it, all of a sudden it's 32. And then you go again, and it's back to 46. And there's a good chance you've hit something paranormal. Could be, it could be a cold water pipe going down the back of the wall. That's true. However, it has been known to be paranormal. What we also do is we'll flash it on one side of the body of somebody's body, and then we'll put it on the other side. And if you get a difference, it's usually more than 6 degrees either side. Then there's a good chance there's something standing next to them, or they've picked up on something on one side. Because you do get people that say, "Oh, I'm really cold down one side."
Yeah.
So that's nice confirmation. So that's a useful little bit of kit, to go around, and it just gives you a good idea of whereabouts the spirits could be in the room. So that's another useful one. There's another one. That one there. It's called the Egley wheel. Now this is a fantastic device. This really is. I don't know if this one's working properly at the moment. It is. Okay, I'll try and show it as best I can. Here you go. That way. The Egley wheel. Now, what this is it was a device originally designed to help mediums with their own energy. And what they do is they put their hands around it without touching, and they use their own energy to get the little wheel moving. When it goes round, it makes that little bleeping sound. Can you hear that? Yeah, yeah. It's only a light wheel as well, and they can make it go faster, or they can make it go slower, or they can make it go the other way around. And there's a little set of lights at the bottom there that tells them how fast the wheel is spinning. Now, we also use this when we're doing paranormal investigations. What we do is we lay it flat on a box in the middle of a dark room or a room, and we ask the spirits to manipulate the wheel to see and this has had some fantastic results. It really has. This is quite a favourite with a lot of guests, actually. One for themselves because they can see how good their own energies are, but also because it's a wonderful little device for spirits, because spirits really seem to like using this.
It sort
So
of works on tapping into your aura, or your energy field,
yeah,
because if you, I mean, people kind of disregard it, but when
mm,
I quite a few of my workshops and stuff, and we talk a lot about building our own energy, and also, one of the ways is like, if you, even if you put your hands together like this, and you really concentrate, you actually feel the energy coming out from your palms. So when you put your hands around the Eggley wheel, you are ultimately tapping into your own energy field. And what it will show you is how much energy you have around your sort of physical layer in your aura. And it's and I and when spirit if spirit is close, then when they kind of step into your energy field, then it becomes, because they vibrate at a higher speed. They vibrate at a much higher speed than us. So when they step into our energy field, then that thing goes ballistic, because that's like whoosh, you can see it
Yep.
sort of tracking up, like from your existing, say, 100 volts, whatever, and then it goes up to 1,000 straight away. Then you know that
Mm,
something has stepped into your aura, your
mm,
energy field,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
working together to speed up that machine, basically. So
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, also, what there was a couple. There was one guy. He was a Wicca, and he'd never seen one of these before. But he actually wanted to try it. His girlfriend tried it and got nothing, and I think his mate tried and got nothing. And he put his hands around it, and it span like crazy. I think I was so impressed, and I said, "Okay, see if you can slow it down, get it go the other way." And he actually did it. And it's the first time he'd ever done it. I think he went out and bought one after that, because he was so impressed with his own, when he realised what he was capable of. And I felt good for that, and I felt good for him, that he'd actually sort of tapped into it. Obviously, when he'd been practicing Wicca, but that was like confirmation that he was doing it right. But that was fantastic. It's a great little device. They're still making them, but yeah. So it's a good little
Yeah,
device.
really cool.
Oh yeah. Now the other one is this one. This is a thermal imaging camera, and I'll turn it on. Hope the battery will last. Without it, these things eat batteries like crazy. You can see it's going on. I know you can't see it too well. You might be able to see a little. There we go. Here we go. And what it does is, does it say low battery? Oh, typical. Okay. Well, what it does is it picks out the temperatures as you go around the room, so it won't see everything as we see it now. It just sees it in either red, yellow, or blue. And normally, if it comes out as dark blue or dark red or a figure, then that tends to tell you that there is something paranormal there. And this brings me on to a rather fantastic image that we did have.
I'm going to share that. I'm going to share that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So,
Right.
so you guys, you can see on your left, you can see that shape outlined on your left.
Yeah. What
So
we
that,
have was. Sorry. Go on, George.
Mark, I'm screen sharing
Yeah. See
the
it now.
from Petersburg
That's right. Museum.
Museum. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, we had a young lad with us, him and his girlfriend, and it was the first time they'd ever done anything like that, so a little bit wary. But this poor young lad, he was being poked, prodded, scratched. He spent the whole evening being just something trying to grab his attention. And the medium, I'm not sure who it was at that. I don't know, think it was you. Was it Andrew? I think it was a different medium. Yeah, pointed out to him that that something's trying to get his attention, and he picked up on another device that backstairs, and he went backstairs with the thermal imaging camera, and he was poked again there, and he turned around, he put the camera out, and he saw a pregnant woman on, as you see there on the imaging camera. He quickly saved the picture. He brought it back, and it fit perfectly with what had actually happened within the backstairs area, in that a pregnant woman was actually pushed down the stairs, and well, they said it was suicide, but rumours are it was probably murder, because she was having the child of one of the gentry, male gentry that lived there. And of course, it was a fantastic find, and Peterborough Museum have now got that picture in their own archive as well. And after that, the young lad, he never got touched again. He never poked or prodded. Why the spirit picked on him particularly, don't know. But it was a
You know what
fantastic
was,
find.
you know what was really interesting is I've only been to the Petersburg Museum once,
Yeah,
and you know, I might have heard about this, whatever,
yeah,
occasionally, but you know how things go in one year and go drops out the
yeah,
other for
yeah,
um, and I don't think I equated both, you know, related that with this.
hmm,
But I remember going around that back staircase, and
yeah,
going around. It's a huge place, and I
yes,
remember bringing that story, and there was further clarification on it. I can't remember the full information, but I remember
yeah,
Lynda relating it to the lady, the guide or manager or something, and it
hmm,
was like, wow, okay, that makes sense.
yeah,
It was almost like,
yeah.
I remember
That's it.
the conversation then was that some bit of information that was missing,
Yeah,
it kind of made sense then. She even more
yeah,
information, so that's really
wonderful,
interesting.
amazing.
Okay, so what else do you have to show?
What goodies do we have? Where is it? Oh, here it is. Oh, so unprepared. This is a little device. This is a very simplified device of a thing called a REM pod. Um, REM pod? REM pod, yeah, REM pod. And it's a remote device. REM pod is a remote device, basically. And it's a little device. I haven't brought it with me because it's too fiddly for me to put it into this show at the moment. But it's a small portable device with 4 lights on it and an aerial. And the closer the spirit gets to the aerial, the more lights that come on. And what we ask the spirit
Very
to do is we
noisy.
tend to. It's yeah, it is. It's not one of my favourites actually, but this is a very simplified device. I mean, I've seen some fantastic stuff with the REM pod. It's just not one of my favourites. But this is a very simplified device in that all you've got is 2 little lights and just one aerial, and it's very sensitive. Now I'll turn it on, so mind your ears if you're listening through headphones. Oh, hang on a second. Sorry, my computer's doing silly. It's right. Hang on. Oh, where are we? There we are. Sorry. Anyway, so yes. So what you do is, so if you're wearing headphones, be careful because. All right. So I've got that sat there. Oh, and what we ask to do is we ask the spirit to just come near the aerial. And you see, it's very sensitive because it goes off as soon as I do it. And again, we've had some fantastic results with this on that location.
And what we tend to do with this is the way we use the REM pod is when we're doing an investigation, you might go around the building and put it at very sort of certain areas in the building where it's not going to be disturbed. And the many times where it's gone off is when we've been all in one room and there's absolutely nobody in the building, and then it goes off and you're like, oh.
Whoa. Sorry, you've reminded me of a story. I know it's an area we're going to talk about later, but one particular area where we had everybody down in one of the dressing rooms around the back, and they were doing the glass divination, and it was going really well. The glass divination was going everywhere. One of the guests just said to the spirit, "Can you set off the REM pod device upstairs, right outside room 7?" And the glass went to yes. Oh, sorry. And we thought, oh, that's great. Oh, see what happens. Anyway, as the session was finished, we got out into the hall and it went off. We thought, oh my God, that was fantastic. And there was nobody up there. We were all downstairs in the other room. So that was just amazing. It's just little things like that. You think, wow, the spirit has actually waited till we finished, then walked all the way across this hall, all the way upstairs and gone for us. Fantastic.
It's evidence like this where it's sort of evidence like this that really make people go away from an investigation, go home feeling, you know what, there's a possibility, there's something out there, something beyond us. You can't explain it because we're all here. We
Yeah,
have no
exactly.
responsible. There's nothing. This is how it works. And what I love about you and how you do your investigations and run the event is that you spend an awful long time going through all the equipment and explaining in detail of how things work, etc., so that when people are using it and when we're using it in during the course of the event, that people have an understanding of the
Yeah.
equipment, not just, oh, that spirit, oh,
Yeah.
it's all like
Exactly.
it's because this, and I also know that we're particularly quite strict on making sure that we are not, we go through the process to say, okay, what are the possibilities that have contributed to this sound or to this
Yeah.
to this something. Then, so okay, if we can't explain it, then it might be paranormal.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes because I'm very conscious of running the event, and all these things that I've witnessed and seen with the guests, it doesn't actually occur to me till I get home and going, blimey, I never that was actually pretty good, because I'm so busy trying to make sure everyone's involved and trying to run the actual event. So that's just part of the job. That's part of it, but yeah, no. Sometimes I just don't realise until I got home, and I wake the wife up saying, "Did you see that?" Said, yes.
I love it.
Okay.
Okay,
Right. This is a good one. If you've got a phone at home, this is quite a good one. It's I'll bring it up. I believe you've got a picture of it as well, Angela. There used to be a device called an obulus. Some of you veterans will know what it is. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. And what it does is it interprets the spirit's feelings, if you like, and it interprets them into words. Now, these have got a little bit pricey. In fact, I don't even think you can buy these now, because I think probably outpriced themselves. However, the good news is there is a free phone app called a ghost hunting tool, and in that is one of these. I believe it's the is it the set? Yeah, the picture on the right there, or is it left as you look at it, right as you look at it? That Angela's brought up there, and what it does is exactly the same as what an obulus does. Sorry. It just you switch it on and you leave it there. It makes a little bit of noise, and then it just translates any feelings or words that the spirit might be trying to talk to you about. And it's a wonderful device. I believe if you've got an Android phone or something like that, it is free. And I believe it's free on iPhones as well. It's just called Ghost Hunting Tool. And this is a fantastic device, and you can take it anywhere. I've got a haunted doll here, and sometimes I leave it next to the doll to see what words come up. And I've had her name come up and various other words which are very relevant. And I also use this when I'm meditating to see what spirits that are actually coming in. And again, I've had some fantastic words come up. One of the ones that really made me look twice was I just come out of meditation. I looked at it and it said, what was it? It said doorway. And I actually had my door open when I was meditating, which told me there was something in the doorway, which I thought was rather cool. I've had various other words, more personal as well, which have really sort of struck me. But it's a great little device, and you can use it, well, anywhere, really, anywhere. It's certainly haunted. And it's got a little storage area as well that keeps all the words and what time they were picked up, so you can go back to it. And, but it's a fantastic little device, ghost hunting tool. And the only thing is, sometimes when people come to our events and I show them how to load this and what have you, and then their partners come up to them and say, "You ain't using that at home," in fear of what they might be finding. So that's a good little device.
The only problem that I have with this and with other such apps is that because it's sort of made for entertainment, there's lots of words there, things like get out, evil, demonic, etc.
Oh, yeah.
Which sometimes I think spirit will just pick it up just for fun, but then it will scare the hell out of people. And it then does disservice to the work that we're trying to do, which is that that positivity and trying to sort of bridge the gap between spirit and ourselves, and so it's kind of quite annoying sometimes, that we see that happening quite a bit, but but it is really, as in where you can use it. I've used it in Cyprus. I went on
Right,
holiday 2 or 3 years ago with my
right.
husband, and it was sort of like this. It was by the water, and it was all these mosaics. That there had been all this very opulent houses, and it was what
Yeah.
was remnants of the floors, and you could go
Mm,
in, and there was like a building where they had very specific antique preserved mosaics and so on. and
right.
um and it was really hot, and I just got a bit tired. And I remember walking, and there was a little path, and I said to my husband, I said, I feel like I'm being followed, like there's like soldiers, and there was this, like, this sort of soldiers marching past me,
Mm,
and I felt a little bit like invaded, or there was some sort of
yeah.
invasion or something of the sort. And then he was like, oh, okay. Then we walked around with this
Mm,
with the app, and the words were coming out was surrender, threat,
wow.
very relevant. I mean,
Brilliant.
I'm so annoyed because I
Brilliant.
actually had it in my phone, and I went
Mm,
I'm trying to clear my
fantastic.
photos, etc. So I put it on some hard drive now. Typical,
Right.
isn't it?
Yeah.
The one time that I can actually use it, and it's somewhere else. But it was so relevant. And then it was really hot. So I went to sit under like a little cabana sort of thing that they had built. And I
Right.
sat there, and I was just like, oof, and I had the app on, and it said, my children. And I connected with the female energy, and she
Wow.
was what she was saying things in my head, and things were coming out on the app.
Good
It
grief.
was weird. It was almost as if
Fantastic.
that app was reading
Yeah.
my mind.
Yeah.
And all of that. And I also had, I think the year before, I used it at Hastings, the Battle of Hastings.
Mm,
So we
yeah.
went, we got to that, was it that castle, wherever, and actually I didn't
Mm,
really read up. We were on the way home from
right.
somewhere else, and
Yeah.
we stopped, went for a walk, and my husband went off on his own long. He said there were two parts. One was a short one,
Right.
and the other one was the long one. Of course, he went on that. I listened to the moment he said short. That's where I was
Mm,
going. Anyway, we came up, and this we were walking down this path, and then it split into two. And just as we were came up to that part, and
mm.
the app said battle, war.
Wow. That's
Okay,
fantastic.
and then and my husband
Fantastic.
then just said, "This is where the battle happened." I was like, oh my God. I mean, I have
Yeah.
so many. I used that, and I went, there was one bit, it's sort of like a monastery or something, and it said low, so lonely,
Grief.
silence. I mean,
Yeah.
it was so specific.
Fantastic.
So there are
Yeah.
times where this app can be, really, really on
Mind blowing.
point. It can give
Yeah.
the goosebumps. And there are points where when it says get out and
Yeah.
demonic, etc., where I just feel like, oh God, and the
Yeah.
sound as well that really annoys me, because it's like an animal growl, which,
Right.
I don't think my dad would have gone into spirit and start growling,
Yeah.
if he,
Yeah. That's fantastic. It reminds me when we went to the Nottingham City of Caves, and you were doing your medium session around, and we got
I
into
know what
what
you're going to
the
say. I know what you're going to
yeah.
say.
This was amazing. We got to an area which was done out like the First World War, one of the huts in the First World
Like the
War.
shelter, like a bomb shelter.
Yeah, a shelter. That's the word I was trying to think of. And Angela said, "Hang on, I'm feeling the presence of a captain in the army," and the obelisk come up with rank too low,
No, no,
which
no,
told
no.
her,
I think it
was it
was
rank too
ranked too
low?
high. I think I said
Rank too high.
colonel or
Sorry,
something. Yeah,
that's it.
yeah, yeah.
Which obviously made Angela say, "Oh, sorry, spirit," and went to a lower rank. That was amazing. All the guests were gobsmacked with that as well, because that
It
put
was
you in a
right
good
at
light
that
as well,
moment
didn't it?
as well, wasn't it? I spoke, and
Yeah,
then that came
yeah,
out. And then the other one was it the Brighton police cells, where
yeah.
we were crossing the threshold, and Lynda had
Oh,
that.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Talk about
So
threshold.
yeah,
It came up
but
on there.
it's sometimes it's so. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
whoa, really
it's
takes you like,
fantastic stuff.
you
I mean,
know,
I'll probably mention this later on, but what you have to remember when you do go on a ghost hunt, whether it be a private group or even with event company, it's not like the television series. A lot of people, they watch the programs, and great they all are, and I've learned a lot from them. But I think it's Ghost Adventures. He has something like 30,000 hours of footage, which he has to break down into 40 minutes. So obviously he's going to keep all the good stuff in there, and all the good stuff in there is going bang, 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 bang. It's all happening in succession. And some people, they come to a ghost hunt or event with us, and they feel the same thing is going to happen there. And it reminds me of a story. I was at where was it? Warwick Castle, and one of our young lady called Libby was running the event, and she started off with the tour and everything else. It was going well. And then about an hour or so into it, these two old ladies come up to Libby and they said, "Do you mind if we go home now?" And she said, "Oh, okay. Is everything all right?" And she said, "Well, yes, but we've been here an hour, but we've not seen a ghost yet." So I wish it would happen like that. It'd be fantastic if it did, but it really is it's a waiting game. So everything we're telling you now, I mean, yeah, obviously it's happened, but it hasn't all happened in one night. This is over a period of about 5 years. I mean, I've been doing this for about 30 years, and all that time I've only ever seen 2 full apparitions. So it is a rare thing. It's gold to see, and it's mind blowing. But you've got to remember, it's actually quite rare. So I just thought I'd throw that in while I could.
any more information that you want to share?
Yes, I'm sure there is. Yes, I'm sure there is. This isn't my handbag, by the way. I'll tell you what we have got. Hang on. Oh, there it is. This is. I should have got this out earlier. I'm not even sure the battery is actually good in this, but now bear with me just a second.
Okay.
I should have been more prepared. Where are we? Keep going. The battery's dying. I apologise in advance. What this is, it's a radio, but it's what it does is it's like a broken radio. It doesn't stay on one station. It sweeps across the board, backwards and forwards. Some of you probably see, they call it spirit box. Some of you probably see them on the programs where you just get this constant noise, and what you're listening for is a full sentence across that. And they're very effective because spirits are said to use, or some spirits are said to use the white noise in order to communicate. And we've had full sentences. We've also had the right words at the right time. I remember a young lady called Samantha. She went again to one of our favourite places, and she said, "Say my name then, say Samantha." And Samantha, it just carried on like that. It was, of course, I won't say the word she said afterwards. This is probably a family viewing, but she was quite shocked when she heard that. So yeah, it's just called a spirit box. Like I say, it's just broken radio, but it's a very, very effective use of it's now time. Information and talking to spirit. Sometimes you can have a full-fledged conversation.
So I have something, an app called the Voice Box as well, which
Oh yeah.
Which is quite similar, but I don't know whether I like it enough. Sort of, you turn it on, so it comes up like this, and then it sees its sound comes.
Yeah. There's a few of them about. Some of them, some of them are rubbish, but the ones that are good are excellent. There's one called the Necrophile, which is an excellent one. It not only goes across the broad of the spectrum of the radio, it goes across all sorts of different types of spectrum, like digital spectrum, analog, and various other forms. And what the spirit does is it just uses all these different forms to create the word. Another one of my favorites is one called the Portal. I can bring it up. Again, it's free to download onto your phone.
I have it as well. Yeah.
Well, you got it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what it is, it's a lovely little device. It's one that I like, and what it is, it's if you turn it on, you just get hundreds of voices all talking backwards. And what the spirit does is it communicates with you by manipulating the words to make it go forwards. Now, I can tell you one story about this. Angela was at this one. Do you remember we had that foreign exchange student? Was it Dutch or German? Yeah.
Oh, no, it was Dutch. It was Dutch. She was
It was
Dutch.
Dutch, wasn't it? And she was doing, she was doing some sort of paper on ghost hunting, and she asked if she'd come along and help us and find out all about it. So we let her come along, and she actually spoke to this portal in her own language, just curiosity to see if we'd get anything come back. And it actually manipulated the words and spoke back to her in Dutch.
Yeah,
it was absolutely
she
amazing.
nearly dropped it.
She nearly dropped it. You know, expensive equipment at the time, and but that was quite incredible. It really was. And she had a conversation about it. But now to us, I mean, I don't speak Dutch, but I could tell that it had changed its language. You couldn't you? It was just the way the words came back. It was really, really different. And but yeah, no, that was incredible.
For a second, we'll see if they can hear.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And it would help if I turn the sound on.
Yeah. Spirits like that.
So it's all going backwards. Hello, what is your name? I think I heard a Sue.
Right.
Is your name Sue?
I am Sue.
My name is Angela. So you can see it's sleeping. So it's quite, I mean, I haven't, apart from that time with you guys, I've never really, sort of downloaded it, and I know a lot of people talk about it, but I was never really, and obviously I was there to witness what happened with that girl. And occasionally I turn it, I sometimes think that I'm probably the least, a lot of people always tell me about all these funny things happening in their house and stuff. And I'm probably like one of those mediums where nothing really happens in my house. It's actually quite, maybe because I'm so laid back that, like, if there was spirit, I'd be like, oh, hi, hello, how are you? What can I do for you? I don't go run and hide in the cupboard or go, oh my God. I don't make a big song about it. So I'll be like chilled in the living room. So hey, I'll say, hey Pete, I think I got somebody in the room, and he was like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. I remember I remember a few years ago, quite a few years ago, before I took on Fright Nights, me and a couple of friends of mine did a proper investigation at someone's house because they were worried they were being haunted. And we did some EVP work, and we actually picked up a voice on EVP. Now, me and my two friends were absolutely stunned and really excited about this, but we forgot the fact we had a client there who was petrified. So we had to quickly remember that we're not there for us, we're there for them. So you're right, it can be a bit of you're a little bit careful sometimes.
I know. But there were times where there have been times. I was a bit like, whoa. So I had it on like at probably like maybe 12. We sleep really late at home, and I had it on. And then my husband was like on my phone, and it was like, oh God, so noisy. He was just complaining about the fact it was noisy. And then it suddenly said, I said, hi, my name is Angela, and he says, Peter. Oh my God. I was like, and done that twice. And I think once he said like my name, and I was like, wow. And it's kind of freaky because you got all this funny, you got the whisper, and then you got the high pitched voice, you got young, old, and so layers and layers of voice, all back. Back and stuff, and it's the whispering one, which is quite freaky.
Yeah, whispering is a bit more menacing, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah. But especially when it's whispering your husband's name at 1 o'clock in the morning, you're like, oh my God, what is happening? But there are lots apps, where you download it and then it tells
Mm.
you the proximity to that a ghost is to you, and it goes tick tick tick
Yeah,
tick 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 tick
that's it.
tick
Yeah,
tick. I
yeah,
mean, it's like it freaks people out, so it's meant to scare you.
yeah,
And
yeah. I've seen
so that's
those.
all. I think it's all very gadgety, but I think that based on our experiences, we would safely recommend ghost hunting tools.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
put
That's a
this
good
on
one. Yeah,
Ghost Hunt,
very
and
much.
they're free to
Exactly. Yeah.
downloads.
I think the Necrophile, I believe that costs, but I mean, it is a good app. It's a very good app, but I think it's about 10 quid or something like that. I think
Play
they charge you for
Store.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So ghost hunting tools. I've just put this on chat. So ghost
Yeah.
hunting tools and the portal can be
Yeah.
downloaded
Definitely.
on Play Store. I'm not sure
Mm.
about Apple, but
I
they are
think
the
Apple
ones
has
that
ghost hunting. Mm. Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Apple does.
Yeah.
It's like there's the other one called Necrophile, which again is a very good app, but
Yeah.
they do charge about 10 quid.
Yeah,
10 quid.
I was gonna download it, and then it said they were charging. No, thought I don't know if I'm that
Rubbish. Yeah.
invested
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I suppose I was right.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think people have lots of there are people with YouTube channels
Oh
and do
yeah,
Facebook lives
hundreds.
with those apps, and it
Yeah.
seems to work for them and whatever, but there's a lot
Yeah.
sometimes where you listen to it and you can't hear anything, and they say and a big
Yes.
strap line goes
Yeah.
across the video and said,
Mm.
oh, it said Sue and things like that, and
Yeah.
everything. And it's like, and I'm like, okay, I don't really know, but I think that because they're free, it doesn't hurt to try them out. And
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
you could even go. Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, I mean, everyone's different. I know some people use apps all the time. I know some people don't touch them; they'd rather use their own senses or the other bits of equipment or dowsing. So yeah, each to their
All
own,
right, okay.
really.
So shall we we will so I've just put together a couple of venues that we've been to,
Yeah.
and then then we'll add on to your favorites and so on.
Okay.
But today, as you know, today has been a bit of a wild one. So
They're the
everything's
best
been.
ones.
Yeah, my neighbor's chainsaw. I mean, at one point he had three chainsaws and cutting down this massive tree, which I'm not pleased about. I mean, I was just thinking, like, why? Still, oh, there it starts again. It's like, why on a Sunday?
Today of all days. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see. Right. Okay. So we're going to go into this, and I'm going to share this. But what we're going to do is we're going to start from the beginning. Okay. So hopefully,
Yes.
can you see the whole
The
um
ostrich.
okay. All right, okay. So it's quite annoying because instead of seeing the whole picture, it's just showing you
The whole screen.
the the slides. Yeah. So okay, the this is the Ostrich Inn, and I know this is one of our favorites as well.
Yeah.
The Ostrich Inn is a place in Colnbrook, Slough, the fabulous Slough. um, and it was, I think it was built in, it was built in 1106, and
1105 was
some,
six. Yeah.
yeah, it's got a lot of history because of, sort of King John, the Magna Carta, and
Yeah.
Dick Turpin, and all this sort of people. So I guess for those outside of the UK, you would, I guess because this is between London, halfway between London and sort of Devon and Cornwall and the other side of the
Yeah.
country. So Maidenhead and Slough used to be coaching inns, weren't they? So
Yeah.
that if you
Yeah.
were in a carriage with horses, this is where you would stop for food to stay. Horses could rest, you could drink some water, recover, and then go off on your journey. So it was, therefore, there was a lot of history, and you can see they still retain the sort of small, sort of road
Mm,
in front of it. It's still, probably has
yeah.
been widened over the years, but it's still
Mm,
quite small. But you see, the architecture itself has always
yeah.
been retained. It's very beautiful because of that.
Lovely.
And now, in modern day, Ostrich Inn has very modern hotel rooms. It has a bar and a private room, and then it's got an annex outside as well, hasn't it?
Yes.
With more rooms as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ordinarily, if you walked in, you would not think there was anything.
Very
You just
modern.
think
Very
that,
modern inside.
yeah, very
Mm.
modern. But the history. Do you want to go through the history of the ostrich inn?
Ugh. I'm probably a little bit green on some of the history, but I know
Okay.
there was. I know it was used as coaching in, and I believe people like oh crumbs, what's his name? You just said his name and it's gone.
Dick Turpin.
Dick Turpin, that was it, had stayed there. And it was also used. Now, I don't know how true the official story is about the ostrich, but there was a married couple who were serial killers, and they used to murder their victims with a big giant vat of. Well, the bed used to be on a like a spring, and when they were asleep at night, they release a spring and it would go up. And of course, the body would then float and go through a trap door and end up in a big hot vat of boiling oil. That's the story behind it. And they said to have murdered up to about 60 people. Normally the gentry, those sort of people. Um, so yeah, that's the story behind them. We have, I mean, regardless of whether it's true, false, or not, it is haunted. We've picked up so many things there. We've had some fantastic nights in there. I mean, I was saying just a few moments ago how you don't normally have one thing after the other. But there was one night at the Ostrich. I know Angela knows which night I'm talking about, where we literally had one thing after the other. We had a really. I mean, all our guests are great, but we had a really exceptional social gathering. It was a Halloween, and it was we
Oh
did
yeah.
it a costume thing, and it was just a phenomenal night. But not only were things happening to to some of the guests, being pushed, shoved, scratched, and what have you, but the poor chef down in the kitchen through the night, he was carrying some stuff, and he walked from one part of the bar to the other, and he felt like a sting on the bottom of his leg. And he thought, what on earth is that? And he lifted up his trouser, and imprinted into his leg was the word slag, and it had been cut into. And this is in seconds, and it was blood pouring down his ankle and goodness knows what else. It was just one of those nights where it was perfect. It was. I still see some of the guests now, or talk to some of the guests who haven't forgotten that particular night at the Ostrich Inn. The good thing is with Fright Nights of the Ostrich is we get exclusive access to areas that other companies aren't allowed to go to. And the
Yeah.
staff at the Ostrich are wonderful. They are such a great crowd. And what they do is, which is really nice, is they will hang around a little while if you wanted to talk to them about any of the things that have happened to them while they've been, when they've been working there. And they're so willing. They really are happy to tell you anything that has happened to them. But yeah, it's a phenomenal place. It's fantastic. It really is.
So what
Yeah.
I've connected with a lady, was a old seamstress
Mm,
who always at the top of the stairs.
yeah.
Sort of made us aware of the sort of businesses that were there
Mm,
alongside the inn. years ago, and this was validated by the landlady who,
That's
or the
right.
manager, who said yes, actually,
Sarah.
because I
Yeah.
remember being in one of the rooms, room 11, and it smelled like freshly baked bread. And I mean,
Yeah.
mind you, this is about like 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, so the
Something like
kitchen
that.
is
Yeah.
shut, there's nobody baking bread.
Mm,
And
mm,
then, but I pointed to a certain area, and then when we went back and asked the manager, say, yeah, they used to have a bakery right downstairs, and so on. So it was very interesting. And
yeah.
then children as well. And there was a writer who, I remember, problem maybe that night that we were
Mm,
talking about, because he was very, very active. And
yeah.
then Saxon
Could be.
soldiers.
Mm,
Saxon soldiers are
that's
a
right.
very, very strong, powerful men that
Yeah.
came through. And then obviously Mr. and Mrs. Yarman. Even
Yeah.
though
Oh
we
yeah.
are still
Yeah.
fuzzy about whether or not it actually happened, and I always had an open mind
Mm.
about
Oh yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It
Same
was
here.
amazing because for they came through after maybe about a year or plus or two after I had already been going there often. I
Mm,
never consciously wanted to. I suppose I didn't want to be cliched because there's such a
yeah.
big history about the Yarman to say, oh yes,
Yes.
Mr. Mrs.
Yes,
Yarman.
there is.
But then
Mm,
when she came through, oh my God, and the
mm.
information, the
Yeah.
understanding,
I remember.
oh,
Mm,
like I remember, because a lot of people were saying that Mr. Yarman was the one that was behind all of this, and
yeah.
but it
Mm,
turns out she came through in spirit, and
yes.
she showed me that she was the one who instigated it, and it was the class thing, how people treated her, and the fact
Yeah.
that she was actually grew up in a nun, sorry, as an orphan in a
Yes.
convent, and she was badly
Mm,
treated. She was
yeah.
badly treated, that she had this, anger and that evilness within her,
Mm,
to punish other people for the life that she had. And it was amazing. I mean, people, that night, I remember that night when this came through, it's like, wow, it's just
yeah.
stunning. Um,
Mm,
but and then the other place, I don't know why um the screen share is not doing
yeah.
well.
I've just seen that.
Can you actually see can you see the Peterborough Museum?
Uh, no, we've got a picture of the Ostrich Inn plaque. Or picture.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
That's all right. Oh, there we are.
Okay, so I'm going to then try this again. Right. Sorry, guys.
Now they get to look at our beautiful faces while we're on.
Oh, I was giving it a rest, really.
Right. There we go. There we go. Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Should be. All right. Okay.
Yeah. St.
So,
Peter's.
yeah, so you should be so Petersburg Museum is another place where, if you remember that little screenshot of that pregnant lady that was on that heat detector. So this is taken here. On its right is the building outside, so quite a big, formidable
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
Inside are lots of artifacts and collections around the city of Petersburg in
Mm,
Cambridgeshire, and really, really big, intense sort of place.
mm.
And you've had quite a few experiences there, haven't you?
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, Peterborough Museum again it is one of my favourite places. It's got such a. I mean, it's just so it's big, it's airy, it's well ordered. The staff are really know what they're doing there. They're all of them. Even the security guard is so knowledgeable about the artifacts there, and it's brilliant. But one of the things now, I've been going there for quite a few years, and I've done loads of investigations there, private ones and events. Now, what I always do at the end of the event, at Peterborough Museum, it'd be about 2:30, quarter to 3 in the morning. We tend to sort of get everybody back down into the base room, and I tend to just go around, make sure that we've collected everything. This is a big building, so it takes about 20 minutes to get right the way around to make sure we've got everything. There's an area there called the Napoleon Room. And what I tend to do there is I tend to do all the all the table tipping in there, because it's always been the best place. I got the best results from this particular room. And there's this one particular time I went in there. In fact, it was the last time I went. I've not been back since, but not because of the event, because of COVID. But I went in there just to pick up the table and a few bits and pieces like glass and chalk and what have you. And normally I'm quite happy sitting there on my own in the dark, and I put it all together and I come back down to the base room. But this one particular time I went in there and it didn't feel right. Now, I remember I just sort of thought, this just doesn't feel right. And it suddenly went very, very cold. And I could actually see my breath coming out under my nose. And I heard a very faint growl. I wouldn't say it was demonic or anything like that, but it was one that made me feel really uneasy. And I just thought, no, this is not right. Now, I don't scare easy. I've been doing this a long time, and I find it more interesting than frightening. But this one particular time, I actually picked up everything so damn fast, and I ran out into the corridor and packed everything away out there. That's the only time I've done that. And I wanted to go back again to see exactly what happened and have a chat with the staff, but of course, not been back since. But it is one of my favourite places. That's one of the things that have happened to me. It's got right up at the top floor. It's got an old surgery room. Obviously, there's a little bit of spin on the dummies in there covered in blood and things like that, just to give it a bit more of a story. But it's a great little room, and it's got a really sort of a clinical feel to it. But also, if you go right down, you go outside and you go to the end of the building, you go down into the old street view. It looks like a dungeon now, but it used to be where the old street level was, and they built over that. So it's literally like an underground road, if you like, or path, with all these openings to all these old shops. And it's wonderful to go down there, and it's all damp and dark. So that's a good place. We've had some stones. I've had some stones thrown at me, and some of the guests have as well. So that's been quite good down there. In fact, that's where the young lad got a scratch on his neck, or he got a scratch. The same young lad who got the picture of the pregnant lady on the thermo camera. So and that's where he got his scratch down there. So yeah, so it's a wonderful place. I do like it there. I can't wait to go back. Yeah. Just to get out and breathe the fresh air would be nice at the moment. Yeah.
The other place that we are kind of I put this on mainly because it's rather interesting.
Yeah.
Is the ancient Rem Inn. I'm just so annoyed. I don't know why it's not playing the slide, but as usual, everything's sort of gone a bit weird. So as you can see, I'll just play around a bit. Corner of the minus sign. Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
See, it shows the slideshow on my screen, but it's not showing on. I just did that, Joe, but it's not showing on your screen. So your screen on YouTube doesn't show a slideshow. You can just see the picture, and you can see the my screen, don't you? So yeah, it's just something, I don't know why, but maybe I can make it.
Live and learn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've just enlarged it at least so you can see better. So you can see such a ancient building. With, you look at all the exterior. This is literally falling down here. When you're inside the building, this is one of those buildings that I love to hate, because I love it because it's small. Because one of the things about paranormal investigation is all the venues that you go to. Oh my God, they can be so big, so 3-4 floors, no lifts. I mean, I'm knackered by the time I do my session because I'm like, oh my God, where is this? Where
Yeah.
is this floor end?
Mm.
Where is it stop? Up and down the stairs. And so the ancient ramen is it's rather small, but
Mm.
it's very dusty. It's quite unkept. And everything's falling apart, so it's a bit rickety, sort of, you do worry sometimes about going up and down and thinking what's going to collapse next, what's going to collapse on you.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't asthmatic, then I probably came home asthmatic because of the
Yeah.
dust. But it's also very quaint, so it's very interesting and quaint. Now, the picture on the right is is I believe, I'm sure Mark will correct me if I am wrong. I believe that a number of years ago,
Yeah.
there was some sort of flooding, and then they found bodies of people in that grave inside the
Children.
house. Children.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, it was children they found. There are a couple of bodies, skeletized bodies down there of children.
Uh,
I don't
so
know the
what's the
full story, but
Yeah. So I think it is in some their bones are in some museums or something of the sort.
maybe.
Uh, but
Right.
the owner, who has now since passed,
Mm.
he decided to put some really, I don't know, very interesting objects. Like there's a stuffed crow that hanging on a
Mm.
very thin thread, so that it turns, and then if you walk up there, suddenly it swings around, and it stares at you with its glass eyes. And then you've got like like really weird stuff all over around collections,
Yeah.
just to make
Oh,
it
yeah.
more
All sorts of
a bit
bric-a-brac. Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
so it's one of those interesting, so it is actually a great two listed building. It's a
Mm.
former pub, and it's
Yeah.
in a lovely place in Stroud district
Mm.
in
Yeah.
Gloucestershire. And I believe that there's a bit of a, they're not quite sure when it was properly built, but I think 1350 might have been when it
Yeah,
was,
that sounds about right. Yeah. I
something like
mean,
that.
yeah. The guy John, I can't think of his last name at the moment. He bought it, I believe, in the early '80s to save it, and he lived there right up until his dying days. He had to go into a home, but his daughter took him out there kicking and screaming. He did not want to leave the place. He was at one with the place. He used to sleep with the Bible, because he was worried that he was going to be attacked by a succubus or an incubus, or some sort of
But
demonic
people couldn't
entity.
understand why he would still live there at the cost of his marriage, because his wife
Oh
left
yeah,
him
yeah, that's
and
right.
moved away, and sort of he lived there.
Yeah.
But I think it was interesting because I've never met him, but then I
Mm.
remember, like, months or past
Yeah.
whatever, and I went for the first time, and I did see him in spirit straight away,
Yes.
and
Yes, you
sort of
did.
there, yeah.
Well,
um
you did a. I was really impressed because you actually did some psychic art, and you drew a picture of him when he was sort of in his, well, from the '80s. I suppose. I mean, the picture just looks strikingly like him, but a lot younger.
like him. Well, yeah, I can't
Yeah,
remember where it is actually.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
but the Rem Inn, I chose it because it has a very special place in my heart.
Mm.
Because it's one of those places where, as I said, it's all like, oh my God, so many objects. I mean, there was one point where he had all his leather jackets up on, hanging on the wall, and it was
Mm.
very messy, very all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was sat down during sort of free time, and then I started connecting with this. I started smelling chemicals,
Right.
and something to do with the
Mm.
military, whatever, and then I
Mm.
started, and people said it went a bit weird, like, because I was connecting, I was so deep into this. But what happened was I connected with a couple that used to come to the
Ah,
inn
yes.
when it was a
Yes.
pub. And there was a barn there, which is now very sort of broken and messed up, because they had a flood there. And they used to have dancers, in the I don't know whether it was around John's time or before that. um and and they were showing me, the music, and they were dancing, and how they met and they lived around this area, and that he was a chemist, or he worked with some kind of chemicals, but they had some
Yeah.
kind of connection to the military. And there was so much information, and I thought, wow. And this, because
Yeah.
people have heard about demonic stuff happening, the incubus,
Yeah.
succubus, whatever it is, and people expect to be possessed, and the
Yes.
poltergeist, people floating up around and things like that.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
I come over for an event, and I'm talking about a very emotional thing about a murder suicide.
Yes.
I said
Yes.
northeast from here, from where we are, northeast. And I felt it was murder suicide. They were going to be put into a home, and they decided to go together, to take their lives. And it was so intense. Now, there was
Yeah.
someone there who wrote all of these down, and went and did research and found the he found the couple. They were northeast of where we were.
That's right.
It was a new story
Mm.
of when they had, it was murder suicide. They
Mm.
decided that the I think the husband had, I think they poisoned each other,
Yeah.
and she went first, and then he passed.
Mm.
And he was he chemist, or had chemical background
Mm.
for the army.
That's right. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they
I
were
remember. Mm.
elderly, very elderly, an elderly couple. So I guess that,
Mm.
um, you know, I guess for me that it was really special that you can go on a
Mm.
paranormal investigation and then bring forward this couple who clearly were there because they had great memories.
Yeah.
Had
Yeah.
great memories. So
Yeah.
beautiful, interesting place. And then the other one, I just wanted to share this.
Mm.
Um,
So, oh yeah. Yeah.
Woodchester, Woodchester Mansion.
Yeah.
Okay, hope that comes out. I chose two pictures. This is where they have done a lot of filmings there as well because of the
Yeah.
imposing
Yeah.
facade. So the photo on the right is actually my photo of the gates as you
All right.
as you
Mm.
come into this property. These are the gates and these are the lights, and the house is quite far in. It's a 10-minute drive in on a rickety road.
Yeah. It's a devil to get to.
Yeah,
It
and
really
then
is.
you go around a
Mm.
bend, and suddenly this house in the darkness with the
Looming. Yeah.
scaffolding, and it comes up,
Yeah.
and it's like it's your typical haunted house.
Oh, absolutely. You've got the mist going round it, and everything about it says I'm haunted. Yeah.
I know, and it's absolutely in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Middle of nowhere. Um, my experience here it was terrible because it's an unfinished building. It's an unfinished mansion,
Yeah.
and it's there was one house was there, and then they ripped it down. They did it. It's now owned by the Freemasons, I believe.
Yes, I believe
Um,
so.
and it's very unfinished. There's no heating,
No.
and it's a stone building, so it's really cold.
Freezing
Um,
cold.
there are no toilets, so you have to go across the car park to this really old shack
Yeah.
toilets.
Yeah.
And when it rains or when it's snowing or whatever, it's muddy, it's awful, and it's dark.
Yeah.
So everyone's
Yeah.
like, "Who's going to the toilet?" You want to go together.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
it's
this is
actually
it. It's such a quagmire when it's been raining to get to. I mean, as a host, I have to make sure that the urn's full of water, and they've got a tap outside. And so when it's pouring with rain, sludgy mud right up to the tap with an urn, and you're filling it up with water. And it's I mean, we're not really giving it proper justice, to be honest. I mean, it's a fantastic place to investigate. It really
yes.
is mind blowing. It's just it's just not. It's not one of my favourites because it's the way it's set up. To be fair,
Absolutely.
but the place itself, if you are going to do an investigation, go for it. It really is worth it,
Yeah,
even just
yeah.
for the architecture alone. You
Yes,
know.
absolutely. I think what has stand out for me with Woodchester Mansion is the fact that the very first time I went there, and they have a sort of like a is it a crypt or sort of
Is it
basement
that?
level.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, right down the bottom.
Yeah,
Is it?
and then
Yeah,
there's one area which is sort of like imagine quite a narrow corridor with
mm,
little arch
that's right. Yeah,
cubicles. Okay,
they
if you
actually go to
and
more stairs.
yes, and then you go
Yeah,
in right at the end, and it's
yeah,
very uneven. It's sort of pebble ground
yeah,
and so on.
yeah.
And I
Mm,
remember doing my seance there when
mm,
I encountered some soldiers who weren't speaking, British English. They
mm,
had a sort of twang to them, sort of like American. I saw the
yeah,
eagle, the emblem,
mm,
all of that stuff that made me feel
yeah,
that they were foreign troops that were stationed there, and
mm,
there was also the sound of in the other along the corridor there was
yeah,
sound of Irish singing and music and
mm,
food being stored and and sound of horses, all of the stuff. It felt like as if I was in a completely different
yeah,
era, time and space, and I was interacting with all of these mostly men.
yeah,
And then I remember we did one where I said everyone just to line up opposite sides of the wall in
mm,
silence, in the darkness, and we just stood there to see what happens, whether we would hear a sound or whether
mm,
there would be something. But what happened, which none of us actually was so blown away by that experience that we didn't actually uh, take our phones off, was that we started to see
yeah,
a very
mm,
small, thin green light, like the
right,
northern lights,
mm,
aurora borealis, something, go at the top in between the rows of people, and
yeah,
it just went from say one end to the
mm,
other, and then sort of dissipate, went into that last cubicle.
yeah,
We felt very peaceful.
mm.
Nobody was scared. We were all like,
No, no, that's right.
just at
Mm,
peace. And we were
mm,
all like, and then somebody said, "Oh, I feel like somebody's just touched me," and he was there.
mm,
And then when we switched on the lights or the
yeah,
torch, and he was standing on his own. He was nowhere close to anyone, And he said he
yeah,
felt like someone just
yeah,
took a hand, touched his arm.
right.
Um, in a very calm sort of way.
Mm,
So quite an interesting place. And I suppose if you sort of want to do a investigation, and you want the whole atmosphere of
mm.
being in a haunted sort of place, that
It's,
would
it's,
be it.
it's perfect for that. It really
Yeah.
is. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's a wonderful building. It's a fantastic building. We have had some great stuff there. It's just if you're hosting, it's a bit of hard work. Really.
I know, I know.
I do anything to get out of hard work. That's probably my problem.
No, yeah, truly,
Mm,
there's that sort of, it's, I think a successful paranormal investigation event
mm.
is a combination of the venue as well,
Oh
because you
yeah,
want a
yeah,
venue that has some kind of
mm,
interest,
yeah,
and obviously it plays into that image that people have in their mind about a paranormal a
yeah.
haunted house, and then the energy of the people that are on the
I was just about to say, yeah. I mean, it's we do sometimes. How can I put this? Guests are a mixed crowd. Because it's open to the general public. You get a lot of people who love it and all that, but you also get people who are married to people who don't love it. A lady will come along and they brought their husband. They dragged their husband out of the football. It was on the telly that night, and they said, "We're going to go ghost hunting." The husband really doesn't want to be there, you know. And what can happen sometimes if you don't go with the right open-minded attitude towards the paranormal, you could have a very disappointing evening. I remember ourselves. We did. I think it was the Ostrich. Actually, you went round with one group, and you were picking up all sorts of things, and the kitchen was alive with dead people, if you like. And then you brought the second group in, who were full of the skeptics and questioned everything, and nothing happened. I remember you had to say, "Sorry, nothing's going on." I was gobsmacked. I mean, I was glad you were honest. But I thought, blimey, I really thought something might have happened. But sometimes it is, when you go on these, you do have to go with an open mind.
And also, I remember, what's that place? Is it Swindon or
Swindon, the health spa?
I can't remember. No, not that one. It was some stately house which we rented out. I think we only did it once, and then we couldn't do it for some other. I think they were booked up for later.
Right.
We were upstairs in one of the room, and I felt, again, I didn't do any sort of of the building itself, but I felt there was this man, an elderly man, that was bedridden, and he was very ill, etc. So it was so emotional and lovely. And then we went into another room, which was like being used for like a breakout meeting room, so it had a projector like that. And we had the K2 meter and 2 K2 meters and a couple of cat balls. And I immediately connected with somebody that was a musketeer. Okay. And he was talking, and my God, the K2 meters was boom, boom. We had 2 K2 meters. One was going off and the other one would go off. They were like tag teaming themselves, and then the cat balls would go off and then this would flush. I mean, everybody was just sat there at the edge of the seats. And so,
Brilliant.
And he was talking about his, and I know when spirit come through to talk about something so deeply personal to themselves, it is hard. We're a bunch of strangers, and see judgment and all of that stuff. He started talking about his sexuality, about his struggles, the fact that he was in a position of being quite macho and very sort of alpha, fighting and protection, all of that stuff. But yet he did not have, he had a very deep feminine side, which was afraid to show to people. As a result, there was a lot of, inner turmoil. And there I was right in the thick of it, explaining and really engrossed.
Wow.
And somebody stopped and said, "Yeah, this is so boring. Like, why is he saying all this?"
Oh, yes, I know. Shore House.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and of course it killed the whole vibe. The whole thing went. And you actually had people coming up to you apologizing for this person for saying that, because it did. It just knocked it all stone dead. Such a shame.
Absolutely, it killed. I mean, I was upset.
Yeah, a few of the guests were.
For spirit, you are telling something that possibly you've never told anyone with a bunch of strangers, and you're trying to explain, something. I've asked you to tell me your story. You're going in, and we're having a Oprah Winfrey Dr. Phil moment.
Yes,
and then
I remember.
Somebody says, "This is so boring. Like, why do we want this, blah blah?" And I said,
yes, I remember.
I remember having to take a deep breath in.
Yes, I remember that as well.
Words that were forming in my head, and I said something like, "Because we've asked him to tell us a story," and and then subsequently everything else that it stopped. Everyone felt the change in energy. He just snapped back. Okay.
They left early, actually. But they left early.
They left early.
I think everybody was a bit sort of, you ruined my evening.
I came off, feeling you know. And I
Yeah.
went back into the breakout room to have a coffee or whatever, and all these people were coming in and saying, "Oh my God, I
I'm
can't
so
believe she
sorry.
said that. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. We were so in it, and he killed the
Yeah.
whole energy and the
Yeah.
poor man, you know." And I was just that. And another thing that, and that other time was at the Ostrich Inn as well, because it
Oh,
takes me a lot of focus, a lot of energy for
yeah.
me to be able to disregard about 20, 30 people in a room,
Yes, of
to
course. Of
push you
course.
all aside and
Yeah.
only connect
Yeah.
with spirit. And also takes a lot of confidence in a way, because I might have my eyes closed, but I know I've got about 20, 30 eyes looking at me. You're
Yeah.
right
Well, they're
there.
all waiting for you to perform, if it were.
Exactly.
Put
and
on your
and I'm
every
going
word.
like, spirit, hello,
Mm,
hello there.
yeah. Well, I've
Anyone
just seen
there?
a message through. Is it Mick? And he says it's such an obscure story, not the sort of thing people would make up. People with closed minds, and that's it, isn't it? It
Yeah,
is people with closed minds. I don't mind people being closed-minded. If they want to come on an event just for a night out, it doesn't worry me. But don't ruin it for others. I think that's all I would say. Is just don't
yeah,
spoil it
yeah,
for everyone else. We have had guests come along who have said to me, I don't actually believe in any of this. My wife's dragging me. And I just say to them, I say, well, look, just try and enjoy yourself. If you want to, just sit back while everybody gets on with it, that's fine, because we don't want to ruin it for other people. And they've just sat back with a coffee, and they've watched their wife with all the other partners or other people just get on and enjoy themselves. And fair play to them. They haven't ruined it for other people. But you're right, though, when you just get one person and it just spoils it for
yeah.
everyone. It's such a shame.
And I'm
Um,
quite, I try to be, I'm quite diplomatic, and,
yeah, I try to
always.
be as well. Yeah.
And but then there are times where
Mm.
I'm so focused, I'm right in the middle of it, and then I can hear,
Yes.
people.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was one that did in Portsmouth, didn't we?
That's
And
right.
basically they came with a bunch with people, and then one
Yeah.
was some kind of page and whatever with a stick and all that.
Yeah.
And
That's
instead of
right.
listening to the
Yes, I
person who's
remember
being
that. Yeah.
paid to connect to
Yeah.
spirits, they were like, talking
It's
about
so
themselves. So it's
rude,
quite.
isn't it? It really is so rude.
And then at the Ostrich Inn was somebody that was making fun of
Yeah, that
what
was
I
a
was
bit
doing.
naughty. He left early.
Yeah, because I've never done this before, but I just went like, is this something you'd like to share with the
Yeah.
rest
Yeah.
of us? And I said
Yeah.
it takes a lot of,
Of course it does. I always
but
say
it
to
did.
people at the beginning, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, it takes, it's a bit of respect, and
Of
just
course it is. Of course it is.
yeah, you could. Is there some what's so burning that you can't talk
Mm.
about it after the session?
Yeah,
When you
exactly.
finish. Yeah,
Exactly.
so that was quite hard. But and let's not forget about the social hallmark. I don't
The
have
what? Sorry,
pictures. The old social hall.
the social hall. Oh, we can't forget the social hall. Did you get any pictures? No, don't matter.
No, I didn't. I don't have. I
No,
didn't
no, no,
manage
all
to.
right. I should have sent some over. Really,
Yeah,
never mind. The
it's
social
basically a
hall.
community hall
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was built a long, long, long time ago in the
Mm,
middle of a residential area,
mm.
which looks very, very plain and nothing special about it. It's got a board with all the,
Yeah,
amateur dramatics, yoga classes, and whatever.
yeah.
It was built, I believe, for during the
First
time
World War.
before post-war, or
Yeah,
before
yeah.
it turned into, I think before that it had other uses, but then post-war, World War I, I think
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
they used it to like a working men's club or something for
Mm.
people to come and have
Uh,
coffee, not
that's it.
alcohol,
Yeah,
just have coffee.
not alcohol. I can't remember the name of the word now, but yes, it was basically a
Yeah,
tea room, if you like.
yeah,
Yes.
something like that. And they play
Mm.
games and things like that. But then over the years, it's been used by the amateur dramatics. So
Yeah,
they have clubs,
that's
and
right.
the
Mm.
attic is full of costumes from
Oh,
all eras people have
yeah,
used. And so the upstairs
Oh,
is a bit of a little tiny little nook, and we cram people in, and
I think
when
they've
we do
opened it
it.
all up now. I think it's all been
Yeah.
opened up there. But
Oh, is it? Okay.
yeah, it's still
And
just as
yeah.
spiritual as it was beforehand. They've
Oh,
not
right. Okay.
destroyed anything.
So when you go in, you've got a big sort of main hall where we do our sort of speech and reception and stuff, and coffees and teas, and then they have a big hall where the shows take place. But also there's I think during the daytime it's like a nursery as well.
Yeah, it's a day centre or something.
Day center for
Nursery,
kids,
something like that. Yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
And then backstage, you go down. There's a room, and they used to be toilets and so on. Now that's an interesting room because that is connected to a morgue.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Wonderful.
so it's connected to a morgue, and we don't tend to tell people that because they don't
No,
notice that the
no.
building and next door, because on the side then you can see the undertakers and stuff. I think it's a spill out
Yeah,
overflow
if
morgue.
there's if they're overrun with dead bodies at one of the local councils, they use that place next to the social hall, and there's
Yeah.
usually dead bodies in there as well.
So that wall is literally the other side of it is the morgue. So you probably have the bodies up against the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've had on stage, we've had a spirit
Fantastic.
that I got to know upstairs in the attic. Her name is Rosie. She's very
That's it.
flirty with the men.
Yes,
So
lovely.
yeah, she like, how you feel. It's like you'd have the K2 meter, and she'd be like, oh, do you want to speak to Dave, to Dan? Like, oh, yes. Do you think Dan is cute? Yes. She'll respond. And then the guys sometimes feel like they were touched.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would see just her leg with fishnets just sticking out.
Yes.
So really, really interesting. But we've also had very emotional
Yeah,
times at the hall.
we have.
I think were you at the one where I saw that little girl, and I asked all the men to leave the room.
I was there.
Yeah.
We went back down into another room and joined in with that three blokes. They were quite happy. We came into another room. That's right. Yes.
Because the little girl was sort of made me aware that I needed to speak to one of the girls there, and it was very, very unusual. And I think Mark got used to me being, when I say I need to do this, you respect it without questioning and say, right, okay, that's it, fine, that's fine. What transpired was the girl was describing a miscarriage, that a baby had been lost. And I was looking at two ladies. The little girl stood behind one of the ladies, and I said, I feel like I need to talk to you. I'm really sorry if it's upsetting. And even at the moment I said a baby was lost, miscarriage, you could see the tears coming down. Wow. It's already, so I knew I had the right person. And the girl in spirit was telling me about the genetic. There was a problem with the genetic or something.
Really?
Yeah. And she said that it was this girl's sister or somebody that she felt was a sister, but I said I felt it was more like a sister, and she was, her friend and her were blinking away and crying and said, I can't believe it, my sister lost the baby, lost 2 days, was it the night before, the day before,
because they weren't going to come on the hunt. They weren't going to come to the event, but they decided, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do this.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That was amazing.
And
she come up to it. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, go on. No, I mean, it was so intense that I think we were all like, there was so much more, but I don't want to get too much into it. But
sure.
We came out, we all had to get fresh air after that, and she's going like, I can't believe that that little girl who died so many years ago, because I know this little girl had passed like wartime sort of thing. She had died in a fire, because I could always see see the burn, like her dress had, sort of that burned sort of char to it, that she would come forward at an event like this, me a message. She could
Yeah.
it changed her,
Wonderful.
it changed
Yeah.
her mind about the paranormal investigations per se,
Yeah.
that it wasn't just about
Which is
running
good.
around, but it gave her a takeaway in the sense that, okay, she's going to need to be there for her sister, you know. And the other one, which was really interesting, and this was when you weren't there, you were at a different event,
Yeah.
was a backstage. We were all sat in um, that room next to the morgue, and it was just the walk around. The walk around's usually
Yeah.
short.
Yeah. Just
Uh,
to, a few people are. Yeah.
and we sat there, and I felt suddenly this deep sadness come through, and I sensed this young girl, who was a Jane Doe, that she was not, that her, she had been brought to this morgue at some point, that she was still not connected to her family,
Right.
uh, that her body was too decomposed for them to really get anything, that she was
Very sad.
attacked on a sort of night out sort of thing, but then and she was attacked in the woods, and that the perpetrator still actually had her chain, something that she was wearing around her neck, that would
Right. Yeah.
identify, and she described him. She told us so much. I think she even gave a name and everything.
Right.
And as I was speaking, and I was thinking to myself, um, God, this is so deeply sad. I thought
Yeah.
that in my head, and
Mm.
somebody said, "Does everyone feel that sadness?" And
Mm.
does everyone feel it? So everybody, I'm talking about big burly guys,
Yeah.
all like tough and rough
We
and everything,
felt it.
and all
Yeah.
sat there with tears, sort of in their eyes. Now the sad thing is that we Googled as much as we could,
Yeah.
and could not get any sort of specific information, and
Mm.
did trying to send that off to the police, but unfortunately, it's not simple as say, hey, we got this
Mm.
information. She described her mother, the fact that she has a young brother. She described the room that he was in. I mean, she described so much, to the point where you could actually put it all together and give it to the police, but you can't just go into the system and search,
Mm.
for court cases and things like that. So unfortunately, we never really got to, you know, to
Mm.
find out what happened to her.
Mm.
But it was so emotional, and
Mm.
hopefully, at one point, it might all
Yeah.
she will
Sure.
find
Sure.
her family. But
Yeah.
you see how such an unassuming building can hold so
Mm.
much.
It is. It's an anomaly. I mean, I've been going there for quite a few years. I used to belong to the Amateur Dramatic Society there, and we used to have stuff happen to us. I mean, nobody really. Well, a few people took it quite seriously, but nobody really worried about it. I think the thought of well, we're going to be there on our own sometimes and stuff like that made people not think about the haunted side. I mean, one of the strangest things that happened to me there is we just done a rehearsal for a pantomime. I wasn't actually in this pantomime, but I was helping backstage. We had a dress rehearsal. Now, dress rehearsals, anybody who's done amateur dramatics, dress rehearsals could sometimes go on to 1, 2 in the morning, something like that. And it was about 1:30, I think, in the morning, and we were just clearing up. And we lifted up a set of wooden stairs. Now, it takes 3 people. 2 people can do it, but it's usually 3 people. But it took 2 of us to lift these stairs up and put them onto the stage ready for the next night. Anyway, me and a friend of mine called Chris, I think his name was, and we lifted up the steps. We put them on the stage. We closed the curtains. He had the key to the hall. He locked up, and that's it. We went our separate ways. We went home. He had a phone call about 6:30 in the morning because he was a key holder for the hall. I can't remember the official name. And he got a phone call so about 6:30 in the morning from the Montessori saying, you didn't clear the hall last night. I want my kids want to, all the kids want to start playing or whatever. And he said, I'm sure I did. He said, what's left out? And she said, there's a set of stairs in the middle of the hall. And he just said, I'm sure we put those stairs on. And in fact, he rang me up about 7:30, an hour later. He rang me up and said, Mark, we did put those steps away, didn't we? I said, yeah, I've got the bad back to prove it. But the curtains were still shut apparently, but the steps were in the middle of the hall again. And we just couldn't, to this day, I don't know how. The only other person who had a key was the Montessori, and I can't imagine a Montessori teacher going there and just throw a set of steps on the floor to ring us up, say, oh, by the way.
So, and I know how heavy those steps are.
God, yeah, because you helped one night, didn't you? Oh, yeah, this is it. Yeah, it's not an aluminium step. They really are heavy. And we just couldn't work it out how on earth they got there. We just put it down to some of the strange things that happened in that hall. I mean, there's loads of things. It's in Englefield Green. It's just, I think they changed the name of it now. I think they call it the Edge or something like that. But we've always called it the old social hall, and we'll probably carry on calling that because it is an old social hall. There's an Englefield Green, but it's just a little goal. I'm amazed it hasn't been snapped up by other companies, to be honest. I know a couple of other groups have been there, but I don't think they've had half the paranormal activities that we've had. One, because me and my wife have a connection to it anyway with the old amateur dramatics, and we also get exclusive access to various parts of the building that other companies don't get. So, which would include the access to the wardrobe.
I suppose because, having been the only medium that's been, we spent so much time, because every time we went there, we uncover another. With Rosie, there were she gave us a little bit of glimpse to her, and then the second time we went months later, and then she gave a little bit of glimpse into how she died. More information, and then it came to a point where she trusted us enough, and she knows that, because I'm not the kind of medium that the show monkey sort of medium where come on spirits, exactly. come and do your thing. I don't instruct and stuff. I mean, it does make me laugh when I come across mediums that whether it's during the paranormal or whether it's just as a medium, and they said I'll tell spirit to give me a name, and I'll tell spirit to show up. I'll guarantee you and stuff. There is absolutely no guarantee in spirit. There's no Skype, Bluetooth, or Zoom in spirit world, because otherwise it would be so easy. I give respect. For me, ultimately, I want to treat them the way I want them to treat me. I show respect. I'm, compassionate. I don't judge them. I mean, like in Oxford Castle, I've brought through some very tough characters in Oxford Castle, including a man that killed, a man who killed his own mother, and then he went on a rampage, and then he was executed. And even with all of that, I wasn't judging him. I was just relating his story.
Yes, of course.
Just relating the story, because I don't think that we have, I think the biggest thing that you have to have when you're doing investigations, whether you're a medium, whether you are a facilitator, whether you are a participant, is to have a little compassion and respect.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's one thing it's sometimes worth saying if you are calling out the spirit is, we are not here to judge, because we have had spirits where they've not come forward, but they're there. So we have to say, look, we know what you did may have been wrong, but we're not here to judge you. We just want to learn more about you. And after a time, they build that trust. And I think that's probably what's happened at the social hall is we've gone there. open-minded. We've had some great guests there, and they've all gone with the same attitude, and we've had some cracking nights there. It's one of those,
And I
places
always
that's just
walk in, and I was always be sort of say in my mind, and probably you do as well. And I would just say like, spirits,
mm,
hello, hi, it's
yeah,
me again.
yeah,
How are you? And sometimes I'll hear Rosie from
mm,
upstairs, and I could hear sort of there, and I know kind of set the scene. And then there's always this really tall, lean gentleman that's always in the our main room, where
yeah,
we have our coffees and teas and so on. And I know he'll be probably
yeah,
observing the people, etc. And also another thing to worth sort of mentioning as well is
mm,
that spirits are not stuck in one place.
no,
They are very dynamic. So
mm,
Rosie, we might start off with her upstairs in the attic, but
mm.
then by the time we come to the stage, she's there, she's joined us.
Yes, well, we've got some EVP. In case people don't know, was it extra electronic voice phenomena? If you use a normal tape recorder, you will recorder on your phone, and if you're in a place that you think is haunted, if you just ask the question, "What is your name?" Leave a space of 10 seconds, then ask another question, "Where did you live?" Another 10 seconds, and various questions, just leaving that gap, and then you play it back. And if you get a voice back, that's what they call an EVP, electronic voice phenomena. And we did this with Rosie. We know it was Rosie, and we did the EVP session in the hall. And what you picked up was of her saying she's going to do this routine. And not only did we pick the voice up, but we also picked up the steps, the footsteps, or the dance steps
Well,
on the hall. It was just phenomenal, absolutely amazing. My son, he's got some footage from the hall. He won't put it online because he doesn't want somebody to nick it. He recorded. Him and I don't know if he was on his own. I think he was with his fiance at the time. They were recording in room 3, and they were calling out and seeing what they could get. And they heard this tapping noise on one of the chairs behind a curtain at the window. And he turned his camera around, and the curtain actually moved slightly, and this great big ball of light actually came out and just drifted across and then disappeared into the ceiling. It's phenomenal footage. But he said, "I'm not sharing it." He said, "Because somebody will nick it. If somebody wants to see it, he'll quite happily show them on his camera.
yeah.
But he won't put it online." I don't blame him, really. But that's one of the most amazing piece of footage I've seen. Yeah,
Yeah, and
fantastic.
think about all this experience that we've had
Yeah,
in one place
yeah,
where
yeah,
it's just a social hall
yeah.
where people meet up for, to see a show or the
Yeah.
children, and then
Stage market or
I think
something.
there's a physio upstairs and
Yeah, yeah.
some other businesses upstairs as
There's
well.
some little offices up there as
Yeah,
well. Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's really interesting. I remember with room 5 as well, which is again
Mm,
is another empty room with lots of chairs up on
yeah.
the wall.
Mm,
I remember being in there, and you can feel the energy in
mm,
each different room. The
yeah,
attic can
yeah.
sometimes be very heavy, very
Yes.
emotional, or sometimes it can be very playful. When you
Mm,
have Rosie and some of the children, it's very playful.
yeah.
And then when
Yeah.
you come down um, into room 5, you
Mm,
feel very masculine. I remember the first time, very masculine energy. Didn't feel
that's
very,
right.
I didn't feel like I belonged there, like as if
Mm,
I would be, if if they were there. And I also,
mm,
they wouldn't have liked me, being female.
yeah.
um, Immediately felt the energy being a lot more strict, more sort of heavy and restrictive. And I remember the first thing that came to my mind was military, army, something to do with that. But then I also started feeling there was some sort of German, there's some sort of, sort of Germanic sort of energy
Mm,
with
yes,
this
that's right.
person.
Yeah.
So I knew it was military, and then I could see that room, and I could see that I could see it in the way it probably was during the war, and
Mm,
that I could see sort of that that long big table, and I felt
yeah.
I could see mats being poured over the table, and
That's right. Yes.
these were
Yes.
the
Mm,
really old
mm,
type mats with the terrain and sort of thing. Um, and then I remember that I was trying to speak English, and suddenly I was asked to speak Swedish. For those who don't know, I actually lived in Sweden for a couple of years, and I do speak some Swedish, which was tested to the max on earlier this week, because I had a reading with a Swedish lady, and her translator was a bit late, so I had to speak Swedish to her for most of it. And then when her translator did arrive, she couldn't understand some of the words that I was using. So
Okay.
I ended up having to speak Swedish anyway. And
Right.
so broken Swedish and broken English, that's how I did a reading, but it was
Right.
amazing. But anyway, so I don't tend to speak Swedish that much. I mean, it's not
No.
exactly where I live is full of Swedes. So I was speaking in Swedish and say, what happened, and blah, what's your name, and etc.
Yeah.
Because Swedish is a Germanic language.
Yes.
It's from derived from the it has Germanic roots. So some Swedish words sound German, so you
Yeah.
can sort of understand. And then I said to him, we had something called like a trigger light, wasn't it? It's one of those
That's
things
right.
where if
It'd be
you
like the cat ball type of thing.
yeah, so if
Yeah.
you go near it, then it lights up, so you could
Comes
use
on. Yeah.
in a motion sensor light.
That's the word. Yes.
So it's
Motion
a small
sensor. Yeah.
square thing. So we had
Mm.
put it over the end of the room, and the
Mm.
cat balls, etc. And I said in Swedish, I said, can you light that up if you
Mm.
are in German? And it went boom, you know,
Well, I
and then
remember. Yes.
boom. He was
Fantastic.
responding that way.
Mm.
But he did kind of say that it was something, something to do with um this was something to do with, was it the dam busters, or there
Yeah.
was some kind of a
Yeah.
spy situation, whether he was a spy, was coming, he was an informant, or some sort.
Something
um
like that.
and I think you did a bit of research on this, didn't you?
Well, yeah, we did. We thought, okay, we did that first night, and it was a phenomenal night. That was our first, mine and Linda's first night as Fright Nights to do an investigation there, because we were a little bit. We knew it was haunted, but we didn't know how haunted. We didn't know whether it would work for an event. So it was a bit of try and error. But after all, everything you picked up, we thought, well, we're going to try and. As it was, yes. So we thought, well, go to the libraries and find out what we can. And we couldn't find anything from 1945 backwards. 46 to today, loads of stuff about the hall. But from 1945 onwards, even photographs, the hall itself had been missed off the photograph. On all the pictures, even maps, it's like just a clearing. There's like nothing there. So that's what made us think, well, maybe the military bent was correct. Maybe you were picking up, because they wouldn't have shown, hey, this is a military base, come and drop a bomb here. It would have been a bit more secret than that. So, so that what made us say there must have been some sort of military purpose behind it, because from 1945, right, there's nothing. But we know the hall has been there for over 100 years. Because, well, I only know this from word of mouth. The guy, Teddy's name was, unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but he was up in his 90s, and he spent his life in Englefield Green, and he was the chairman of the local amateur dramatic society for about 50 years. And he had to retire through ill health and age and everything, but he still used to come along. He's a very sprightly gent, and it's such a shame that he's not around, because he could tell you so much about the hall itself. And he used to talk about the things that used to happen at the hall and what it was used for. He just knew the hall inside out. But unfortunately, when he went, he took all his secrets with him. So we don't know that much. But I believe what we have got is correct, though. I do believe there was a military feeling there. I think you're right there. And I believe it was used as a school as well, certainly during the Second World War, if not the First World War as well. I believe it was used for school children, because they would have come out of the towns and the cities and gone out into the countryside. And back then, Englefield Green was a bit more of a village than it is now. So that's all we could really find out. So it is a fantastic place.
Yeah, it's interesting because following that over the years, we've also encountered this gentleman who was um like a lower in rank, and
Yeah.
he actually had a message for people in the investigation that night,
Mm,
where it's a
mm,
different night, and he showed me that he he felt that he did too much for his duty. He did his duty to a point where he had
mm.
forgotten his family, that he wasn't able
That's
to go,
right.
because his
Yes, I
I think
remember.
his daughter died, a
Mm,
5-year-old girl, and he showed me the graves. So they are
mm,
buried somewhere, one of the churches in. I mean, I
yeah.
should one of these days I will have a walk and go to Englefield.
Yes, yeah. I know it's something we talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about it over the years, but it's one of those
Mm.
things you do go do investigation and you kind of, yeah, okay, forget.
But there's a
Uh,
huge gravesite in Englefield Green.
yeah,
Massive gravesite. Huge.
I
So,
mean, I'm sure he will guide me if I go like, or help
mm,
me, guide me. But
yeah.
he showed the grave of the daughter, and then of
Mm,
himself, and then he served too much, and he I think the message was to, do your duty, but above else, do your duty to your own family, and
mm,
remember your own family, because it was very sad, because he came a few days after, so he showed himself having brought some flowers, and being at the grave after she had been buried. So he missed his daughter's funeral, and it was the immense sadness that I received during that time.
yeah.
Was
Yeah.
was crazy. I mean, I haven't thought about this in ages, but
No, it's just
as talking
mentioning it now,
about,
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
straight.
mm,
Um, but and that sort of lent into that. It felt like, sometimes you go to a place, you go a few times, and
yeah.
you either go, and then the next time you go and you're completely different spirits or whatever.
Mm,
But the social hall has been one of the very consistent places where you
mm,
go, and then you got one storyline.
yes.
You got
Yeah.
Rosie, you got the German, you've got that. We had this Italian fishmonger, didn't we, as well?
That's right. Yes,
Very
I
sweet
remember.
character.
Yeah.
And then before, in the children, so you've got quite a few storylines.
Mm,
And then you go back to it, and then you got this German, we got the military, and then we had that one sort of brigadier colonel or somebody very high sort of
yeah.
position.
Mm,
And then we got the story about the lower rank official there, and
yeah.
about his personal story. So amazing. I mean, one of
Mm,
these days I will sit down and put it all together in a book for, you know,
yeah.
and hopefully people want to read it. But I just think it's amazing,
Yeah.
the information that you do
Yeah.
come through that comes through,
Mm,
and that a lot of people come to our events having this.
mm.
Didn't we have a couple that turned up? Yeah, we had a couple that turned up to an event in Brighton thinking that it was an escape room event.
Yes, I wasn't at that one, but yeah, you did tell me. Yes, I heard about that. Oh dear. Yeah. Oh. Mm.
And
Yes.
and
Yeah.
some expect to be people jumping out of the whatever, and
Yeah. Yeah. Some people. We actually had a phone call once. Somebody I wanted to book us to do a ghost hunt, and we said, "Oh, okay." And they said, "But have you got all your own costumes?" I was like, "What?" I'm sorry, what do you mean? He said, well, when we jump out at people, and I thought, no, 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 we're not that sort of. So yeah, people do get the wrong idea, but
yeah.
mm,
So you do get your expectations, and I suppose,
mm,
as we kind of talked about TV, and
yeah,
they have a different purpose. They have to be
yeah,
entertainment,
it
because
is. Yes, yes,
if you filmed and paranormal investigation from start to end, yeah, you
mm,
could compress it to about, say, like 1 hour, 2 hours, but
yeah,
might it might really be routine and boring, people talking, me standing
mm,
there in the dark going, spirits,
yeah,
come forward, don't be shy, blah 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 blah. Oh, spirit, I see a man, yada yada. Then you go, somebody doing the glass divination, and things like that, and then people going around, and then everyone's sitting
mm,
in silence, and you hear tuk, and so, was that a knot, was that a knot,
yes,
and say,
yeah,
oh,
yeah, that's right.
investigators.
Mm. Oh yeah, I mean, it is a waiting game. You know, as we said earlier, you can sit in a cold, dark room for an hour, and you might just get two taps on command. It is very addictive, you know, because those two taps have made your night. Wow, two taps,
I
fantastic.
know,
Wow.
I
You
know.
know, the fact you've been sat there an hour waiting for them, you forget about that. I think the thing about television, I mean, television is obviously it's a business at the end of the day. And some of these programs, they've got to keep interest, and it's all viewing figures. And with each series, you have to have a thing called progression. So each series has got to be better than the last. Now, the thing about paranormal is it's unpredictable. You could do the first episode and you could actually get a proper apparition on the screen. You may never get it again. You know, so in some respects, you peak too high. But if all you've had is knocks and raps and a medium going, oh, I sense, and your viewing figure's been steady, but to get the next season, you've got to be better than the first season. And the only way you can do that is by guaranteeing an apparition. So this is where some of the programs, I feel personally, screw themselves up because they peak too soon, and now they need to do something better in order for the program to last another season.
Yeah,
And they picked the wrong form of entertainment to do it on, if you ask me. You know, you
yeah,
might as well just be honest. I mean, people, especially the veterans, you know, they're not stupid. They know if it's faked or not. And I think it turns into a bit of an insult, really, when television companies start telling you, yes, we actually saw an apparition, and they fake it. And that, of course, it puts pressure on likes of yourself, us as well. And we feel like we have to produce an apparition. So that's why we're honest and upfront, say we cannot guarantee paranormal
yeah.
activity. You
That's
know.
exactly the way I do my mediumship.
Mm,
I tell people, it's in my terms and conditions and stuff. I cannot
mm.
guarantee. I can't conjure up your grandfather
No,
or
of course
father or
not.
sister.
Of course not.
If I don't, sort of feel it, then I'd be honestly
Mm,
it's the best policy. You don't sit there going, I
of
feel this
course.
man, I feel it's a grandfather. He sends you so much love. That is utter bullshit. You want to know, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
could say that. I
Mm,
just say it. But when
mm,
somebody when you bring very substantial evidence to say that
mm.
it is, to a point where, oh my God, I can recognize my grandfather in what you have just said,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and then it straight away, so really real
Mm,
information, but it's such a fantastic uh
mm.
opportunity, I feel,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
added to my mediumship. And I feel,
Yeah.
as long as I've been, I've always appreciated that the fact that you've allowed me to do things the way I'm comfortable, what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
Um, and
You've only got to fake once and get caught, and that's it. Your reputation is destroyed.
yeah,
It's just not worth the risk. It really isn't worth the risk. You've just got to be honest with people. If they walk away, complain they didn't see anything, then well, at least I was honest.
yeah,
That's the way
exactly.
I see it. You know,
Yeah,
it's just not
and
worth it. It
you're right.
really isn't.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
Mm,
people appreciate the honesty rather
yeah.
than, oh, okay, I don't want people doubting me, because I think for me, I'm based my work and my business based on my reputation.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
mean, I'm no Mother Teresa, but I try to
Mm,
do, my work is important. I try to be as
of
ethical
course.
and
Of
have
course.
morals, and
Yeah.
there are lines where I won't cross. It's not to say that I wouldn't,
Mm,
I'm not a saint, as I said, but it's important. So when
yeah.
I know, and I do
Absolutely.
certain things, I've had opportunities, and along the way
Oh,
over the years, and I just go, oh, I don't want to, I did had that TV opportunity with celebs and stuff, and
yeah. I don't go for all that. You
I was
know. I
just
mean,
like, well, because of the company that approached me, the company that was making the series, and I know
mm,
the kind of reality shows that they like doing, I was just like, yeah, no, I don't want to. It's not worth it for a couple of bucks. It's just not
no.
worth it. Yeah, I might get a little bit of attention on Twitter
Mm.
and stuff, but what if,
Compared to all the other millions that are getting the
yeah,
attention as
exactly.
well, it's just
And if
not.
we
It
get
really isn't.
wrong, uh, the
Yeah.
wrong attention, then I don't want to do that. But I'd rather be poor and legit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel so sorry for you when we do get a group of guests and they're really going for it and they're trying so hard and nothing's happening. I feel so sorry for them. I really do. And no matter how tempting it might be just to knock the table while nobody's looking, you just can't do it.
Well, we
And
did have somebody at somewhere, I think it was at Winchester Manor, where it was very clear that
oh, they were moving the
somebody
glass.
was moving the glass
Yeah, that was
purposely.
not Woodchester. Galleries of Justice.
Oh, right, okay.
And she
Yeah,
frightened the life out of her sister by
yeah.
moving the glass to certain questions. That's crazy. Well, I don't know why people do it.
Yeah, no, I think it's yeah, it is sort of ridiculous when people do stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you know, it's been I hope that this gosh, 2 hours, you know, they say that
Yeah,
you have fun where, you know,
yeah.
and time
Time
just
whizzes by.
flies.
Mm.
I think we were only meant to do for two, but we've gone over. But I
Well,
hope that we have, you know, by sharing a little bit about what is paranormal, we shared about how what to expect during an event, how an event is done through the mediumship session. We've got the glass divination, we've got equipment, and then you get some free time to go off and do
yeah.
your experiments.
Mm.
And this is a great thing because Mark and Lynda actually allow you to you know, take some of their equipment and go around
Mm.
and use it as well.
Mm.
And you know, we've also shared some really memorable times that we've had together on the various
Yeah.
events that we've been on.
Mm.
God, you know, I think Mark, myself, and Lynda have gone out from the top and bottom and sides and wherever
All
of
over the place.
UK. I mean,
Mm.
there was at least 1 year where I've probably been to every service station there is between
Yeah.
between the south and the north and the west and the east.
Yeah.
You know, every weekend
Yeah.
we were having
We
meals.
know where all the McDonald's are from here up to
Oh, I
don't we?
know.
Yeah.
Because we were working so late and then
Yeah.
you know, working so late, very little sleep, then driving to another location, because there's some points where we were working Friday night, an event on a Friday night, and then we drive up to another venue on a Saturday night.
Saturday night. Mm.
You know, I mean, it was back-breaking work, but you know, it's all
It's
about the
great fun, though.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great fun.
it is
Fun
great
is
fun. I
nothing.
mean, I'll go anywhere. You know, it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I know.
It is great fun. I really enjoy
Excited
it.
because as I'm doing more work with my you know, people from
Mm.
Malaysia where I'm from,
Yeah,
uh, and things are opening up in Malaysia for me,
that's
that
good.
I have
Good.
plans to go back, and there is also a
Mm.
very quite a strong interest in the paranormal, so I might have even be
Mm.
doing some investigations there maybe.
Oh, brilliant.
They do
Brilliant. Yeah.
slightly different. You know, it's a bit negative and lots of possessions and stuff like that. So I'd have to find a way to do it, you know, safely,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
but yeah, so we've shared a lot of experiences, which I hope you have
Mm.
enjoyed. And also we've given you some ideas of tools that you can use to download.
Hmm.
You know, download on your phone or tablets that you can use to investigate at home. So top of the list is cat, the cheapest thing to get. I think Mick posted it's two cat balls for
Yeah,
475
saw
on
that.
Amazon. Okay, so if you want to get one tomorrow, you could probably do that.
Yeah. If you're on
And
Prime, you'll get it the next day.
and I'm just that just reminds me, I'm going to finish this off with something very personal and slightly mind
Brilliant.
blowing.
Mm.
So my mum passed away in May 2020 last year, and May 21. Okay, now after I think it was later that day, so very quickly, to you know, we heard first thing in the morning. I already knew it was going to happen, um,
Mhm.
and I printed off her picture, you know, had to blow up a picture, put it in a frame. I had a little altar with flowers, all of that, and for some reason I just put the cat ball. next to her picture. And there was a point somewhere along that day where I was so upset. So obviously I couldn't go to America, and she died under COVID circumstances. So she was alone in the hospital for 5 weeks on her own with no phone access, everything. So it was horrendous for us. And I remember sitting there feeling completely like it felt like the world had changed, like it was HD. When you get everything was so super sharp. And it was weird, that sensation. And I went to a picture and I said, he's just gone, Ma. Like we just up and left. It's like, just went. The cat ball started flashing.
Wow.
Okay, and I had a conversation with her, a little conversation with her, and I mean, I did video it, but I was screeching hysterical most of the time. I showed it to my sister. That's all. But I was asking her questions, like etc. etc. And she was responding. And since then, occasionally I would get it would, she doesn't do it all the time because she seems to be quite busy in spirit. Occasionally I'd ask question or something I feel. It's like, Mom, miss you so much. And where, I hope are you in, oh, this is interesting. Okay, so the day that she was cremated, we all had, it's traditional in my culture, Indian culture, to put a little spread, like some sweets or something, just to say, to ask them to bless the food and sort of thing, to welcome them to the house. So I did my stuff, and then the ball started flashing. I was talking to her and all that stuff, and I actually saw her in my mind's eye. I could see her, but in a different age, like in a different age. And she was there. It was like she's standing there looking, and the ball was flashing as she was looking at it. Okay, and I was like, "This is that." I mean, part of me is like, "Oh my God, Mom, I'm really emotional." Part of me, the investigator in me, is like, "Oh my God, this is brilliant,"
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And then, but I was fascinated. She had been in spirit only for 5 days. She had already learned how to use all of this tech. Okay?
Yes, of course. Of course. Yeah.
81 years old. And and I was like, oh my God, my mom, how intelligent are you? And then I was asking questions to the dog, and then she said, I have to go, boom, like that, and it stopped flashing. And my husband said she's probably going to your sister's house in New Orleans. And I couldn't believe this. I had my phone, and suddenly my husband said she's probably gone to New Orleans because your sister's probably doing the same thing. My phone pinged, and my sister sent me a picture in WhatsApp of my mother's altar and saying, I've just put some food for her.
Oh, right.
Right that second, she said, I have to go. My husband says this, boom, a picture comes on WhatsApp saying, I've just candles, I've put some sweets for her, and made her a cup of tea, and I hope that because they brought her ashes back, so she was cremated in the morning, and this was probably about 5 or 6 in the evening, and she put my mom's, she came up in a not an urn but in a beautiful box, and she put it there. Her picture was above, and she just put some food and asked her to bless, to come and enjoy the food, whatever. And she sent that picture, and straight away, boom, boom, all the sequence of events happened within about seconds.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah.
And since then, the cat ball and the K2 meter is something that, occasionally I feel present, something that I switch it on. Now, on my father's birthday, morning, my father's never used the cat ball. And I said, "Happy birthday, Dad." And the cat ball, see, I have one cat ball in front of Mom's picture, one cat ball in Dad's picture, and the cat ball in front of my dad's picture flashed.
That's
I said
amazing. Oh, it's brilliant.
happy birthday, Dad. And it's like,
Yeah, and then it just straight back straight away.
I know. And
Wow.
I said, Pete, look at
Yeah,
this. He says, oh
yeah,
my God, that's never happened. You know, it's like, wow. And we tried to video
yeah.
it, stopped.
Yeah, stop.
He
That's
didn't
always
want,
the way, isn't it? Yeah. Didn't, yeah. Oh, it's brilliant. Well
yeah.
done. Yeah,
So,
no, that's good.
so I
That's
wanted
good.
to, if I wanted to share this, but I
Yeah.
wanted to keep it to the end to say, that
Yeah.
this is so personal.
Mm.
This happened at home, and I use it sometimes. I'm not dependent on it, but sometimes it's nice, So if they
Yeah.
want, if she wants to get my attention, she lights it up.
Yeah.
It gives spirit another way to communicate with you. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much, Mark, for
Oh, you're
sharing.
welcome. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
It's been fantastic. So, and
Yeah.
thank you very much to everyone for
Mm.
joining us today. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and also let me know what you want me to discuss next time. Any subjects or any interesting people that you want on the show. I want to do this at least once a month. So I hope to see you again, and don't forget to hit subscribe. So thank you very much, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.